Nice crowd tonight. Nice to see a few people out. Sometimes we feel we don't have anybody come out, but you can watch us on TV, I guess. So anybody that comes up, just remind them that we have a TV going, so we record it. So we want you to come up to the front, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
I don't think they beat a bad language out do this, so be careful when you're swearing.
It is delayed. I think a Don Cherry delay.
I think
on
he's
there.
talking about his council.
Disclosure any pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Having heard none. Motion to convene into, well, I guess just the minutes of the previous meeting that we need. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Faulkner, that the minutes of the April 2nd, 2013 council meeting be adopted as presented. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Additional items disclosed as other business. Anybody got additional items tonight?
I do.
Ron?
Mr. Mayor? I would have one, too.
Ron and Ron, okay. Ron E. Right. Okay. For now, that's it.
Sorry,
No,
I would have been disappointed if Dr. Fisk didn't have anything, so.
He must have slept on tax last night.
moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Faulkner, the minutes of, oh, sorry. Yep, next one. Moved by Councillor Turton, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, that the town of Minto convenes in a committee of the whole. All in favor? There. Okay, we'll start off with the public meetings. We have a couple tonight. So, the first one, public meeting is to consider an amendment to the Town of Minto zoning bylaw number 0186 for property located in part of Park Lot 4, Park Lot 5, 6, and 12, within the municipal addresses of 24 George Street North, formerly the Town of Harrison and the Town of Minto. I'll act as the chair, and I'll call the meeting to order and request any members of the public present to please sign the attendance record. And if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the persons or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Town of Minto to the Ontario Municipal Board. And the persons or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the board unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. I'll now turn it over to CEO Clerk White to advise the purpose and effect of the public meeting and when the notices were sent.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed amendment is described as part of Park Lot 4, Park Lot 12, 5, and 6, with a municipal address of 24 George Street, North Harrison. The property is 2.65 hectares or 6.55 acres and is the former senior school property. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the lands from institutional to a site-specific residential 2 zone. The applicant is proposing to develop the property with residential uses such as single, semi-detached, and townhouse condo dwellings. Additional relief is being sought from the siting requirements to allow a reduction in the exterior side yard setback requirements and may include site-specific provisions to address other setbacks. The development will also include a park in a location to be determined. The amendment may also include an adjustment to the flood fringe overlay zone provisions on the property. Notices were mailed to property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as applicable agencies, and posted on the property on March 28, 2013. The following comments were received. From the Fire Chief, Chris Harrow, with no concerns. From the Water Foreman, Wayne Metzger, advising that additional water and sewer services would be required. From the Chief Building Official, Terry Kuipers, noting that in addition to the relief indicated in the notice, relief may also be required to the seniors block to allow for development with no frontage on a public street, to permit more than one main building on the seniors block, and to permit a higher density than the minimum 4 units. From the Upper Grand District School Board Senior Planner Heather Im, noting receipt of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application and requesting a copy of the proposed draft plan of subdivision to provide complete comments. County of Wellington Senior Planner Linda Redmond's report is attached to the council agenda, and there is And there's a copy of that, and Linda is here tonight. From the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, we have reviewed the above-noted application for zoning bylaw amendment with respect to provincial and authority policies and associated mapping related to natural heritage features. That's the wrong one.
Yeah, it's tough.
And advise the following comments. Floodplain is located to the west of the proposed development. As such, the MVCA does not have concern with the preliminary. Just 1 second.
Got the right one there?
You only got 12 in their bill.
Do you have the one? This is Tuffing McDougal Court.
I didn't see one from,
No.
there wasn't one, Bill.
I don't think there was one.
Okay, so there's no comments from the Conservation Authority on this application?
Right here, Linda's got it,
Except for those right there.
which Linda might speak to.
Okay. We have reviewed the above-noted application for zoning bylaw amendment with respect to provincial and authority policies and associated mapping related to natural heritage features and natural hazards. And they have the following comments. Goes on at quite length, but they have a recommendation. The MVCA supports the rezoning from institutional use on the property, as institutional use is generally not supported by the County of Wellington official plan. However, as noted on the notice of complete application, the applicant is seeking reduction in side yard and other requirements. MVCA recommends that the municipality not consider reducing setbacks if it will significantly increase the number of units in the floodplain, specifically if the minimum floodproofing standard will be applied. Increasing the number of units in the floodplain increases the flood and safety risks to the public. MVCA encourages that safe ingress and egress be dry access with no minimum flooding. In conclusion, based on municipal zoning and county official plan policies, MVCA has no objection to the proposed zoning amendment, provided that all new development meets the zoning and floodproofing requirements as outlined in sections 32(2) of the town zoning bylaw, but not limited to the provision for safe vehicular and pedestrian movement during a flood. And 2, that all new development and site grading be reviewed and approved by the MVCA pursuant to Ontario Regulation 16406. Should proposed residential development meet the above noted requirements, it is our opinion that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will meet section 9.6 and section 5.4.3 and 5.4.5 of the county's official plan. The official plan policies for the hazard lands are in general conformance with the natural hazard policies of the provincial policy statement. That's it.
You want them back?
Next day.
Linda's gonna do hers. Linda? Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, just turn that mic there for you. Good. Good.
At this point, there's not a lot of information that I have available. The applicant is here, and I believe he's prepared a presentation. At this point, it's just a concept plan, and there's no draft bylaw prepared to date because there's still some tweaking going on in terms of the lot configuration and the road pattern and stormwater management and things like that. So we just wanted to present it to the public at this point and receive comments from the public. What I can say is that the property is designated residential in the county official plan, so there is no need to do an official plan amendment. It's in keeping with that designation. With respect to the general idea of the proposal, at this point we're very supportive of it. We think that it's a very good reuse of an existing site that's within the urban boundary. It greatly adds to the density that you're trying to achieve in your towns. And so at this point, I'm just going to leave it to the applicant. I just would like to comment on quickly on the floodplain issue. I know the applicant is working with the Conservation Authority to determine where that elevation is. The policies in the zoning bylaw that were referred to under section 32 speak to floodproofing and that sort of thing when the lands are located in a flood fringe area. And essentially, you can't have any, the main floor of all buildings have to be put above the flood line. So they're establishing where that 100-year storm line is on those lands, and then I understand that the design of the dwellings will be above that in terms of openings.
Mhm.
That's essentially what that section talks about, is the construction and where the openings will sit. So that's still being worked out as well, from what I understand. But at this point, we'd like to hear from the public and see what any issues they have or concerns or, okay?
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
And you'll be, did you want, is Jeff coming up? Yeah. I'll call on the applicant or his agent. Who's made that? Jeremy? Yep. Jeff? And Linda will be here like to, if you go through your presentation, this is kind of an open concept, so everybody gets to ask questions, and that's exactly what Linda was saying. This is sort of to get an idea of the project.
So what we're proposing on the ground is, like I was saying, residential
Yeah.
dwellings.
We're gonna have to, yeah.
Again, this is only proposed, once we're dealing with MT Engineering out of Waterloo, and they're designing the stormwater management system. So, once we get a good idea of our elevations, our building openings, then we can reconfigure this to suit those needs. Again, some of the roads, some of the lots may change, but this is what we're starting with so far. We only want to build single, semi-detached, and maybe some adult living homes on the backside here. Most likely, we're gonna have a retaining pond. It's located here right now, but again, it could
Yeah.
change. Talking with the guys today, it's more than likely gonna end up on this side of the map, strictly because that's the lowest part, so it just makes sense for the water to go there. We are gonna maintain a walkway from George Street all the way through to the public school, so the kids do not have to be routed to the highway. We're gonna maintain a half an acre parkland. Again, we're not sure exactly where that's gonna sit. It probably will be somewhere where the pond is, and then maybe an additional, section on the property. But again, everything is kinda up in the air at this point as far as, stormwater management. That's the biggest thing. So, this is our first kind of drawing. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or? Question posing?
Yeah, council first, and then,
Okay, sorry.
go ahead, guys. Questions? David, can you
Yes.
see it?
Yep, I think I can see it through you, Mayor Bridge, to the Metzger boys. The entrance to the multi-res at the back, parking, is the parking going to be with in each individual building, or is it going to be, do you have an idea of what I'm asking? Yep,
Every building will have a garage, so every building will have a driveway come off the road, off that street. Is that what you're meaning,
Each
Dave?
unit's gonna have a garage.
Each unit, yeah, yeah.
And we can always have 2 cars in that property.
Again, like I say, this is only preliminary drawing.
Mhm.
We actually, we don't have it today because we were just dealing with the guys at MTE today, and we're actually maybe considering bringing it in this way because that's where the pond is now. So we're maybe gonna bring the private road in this way and have the buildings run here. But again, every senior's building will have a garage and a driveway to the garage.
thank you.
Ron?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, so that driveway, which is the present driveway to the east of the senior school,
Right.
that would be eliminated then if you were gonna bring that private driveway in.
That's right, yeah, yes.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
And if that happens, we will have the proper sized roundabout or widened 90 for access for fire trucks, for anything,
Snow removal.
snow removal,
Fire trucks are important though.
they're important.
Well, just a comment, Your Worship, I think it's a great little layout you guys got here, it's, I think since your first kick at the can, looks good. So I hope, that you guys succeed with it for sure.
Thank you.
No, I would think you've got our support here, guys, so. Like Linda said, it's a good fit for the residential area down there, so.
Well, Bill, do we want to, basically at this point, you want to stay there?
I
in
guess if
case-
it probably is a good idea for the applicant, will get a chance to rebuttal anything that
Yep.
comes from the public.
Yep.
And really what we're talking about is not so much layout, from what I can tell, it's singles, semis, and row dwellings for seniors, or street townhousing for seniors, with a pond and a park to be located at a future date, so.
Right.
Yeah, I know you've worked hard on this, and there's been some back and forths, and as you say, with Maitland Valley, and I think they're on side now, so just, there's some things that have to be clarified yet.
Yes, yes.
Which is fair, but I think it's important to have this meeting now, because it's out in the public, and I think we want people to have a chance to talk about it, and maybe offer some ideas or whatever to us as well, so.
Yeah.
If you want to just hang in there, and I'll just ask for anybody wishing to comment in favor of the proposed amendment. Anybody additional? Okay. Anybody wishing to comment in opposition to the proposed amendment? Anybody at all? Okay. Sure, yeah, well, that's fine, that's what we were asking.
Yep.
Yep. And your name, sorry, would you want to just come up to the, yeah.
I probably don't need a microphone,
Oh,
to be
yeah,
honest with you.
well, it's just that the people are watching on
Oh,
the,
I'm sorry, Annalee.
on our.
I'm Heather
extensive-
Hillier. I live on Lawrence Ave.
Okay.
So you're not extending Lawrence Avenue as they had said at the last meeting? They were looking at doing that as a possibility?
It is a possibility, but at this point, I'm not gonna say 100% sure whether that's going to happen or not going to happen.
Okay. There are seniors that live on our road. Unfortunately, one of them that wanted to be here tonight is in the hospital right now with double pneumonia. So him and his wife asked me to address a concern of theirs, which is they do not want to see Lawrence Avenue extended and used as a skip the lights, run through town to Tim Hortons. So it now becomes a fairway. Do you know what I'm saying? We have some issues right now with people that fly down our road
Yeah.
and then slam the brakes on to the dead end. It's a nice, quiet,
Yeah,
dead-end street that we live on. I do encourage it being residential and for the seniors. For Mrs. Lawless, who lives beside me, she would like to see seniors housing. So this is positive for her, and I'll let her know what you've come up with. She said she would sell her house in a heartbeat to welcome younger families to purchase her home in order to live in a single floor with an attached garage house. We did suggest it at the last meeting, so whether you guys got that or not, that's right up what she had suggested. Because we know other families in Harriston that have, they've sold their house even recently and moved out of Minto, out of Wellington County to another county for the attraction of the senior residents. So that was our concerns.
So we've actually done some
Okay.
studies and asked a lot of people, and this is something that we've developed in Palmerston, so somewhat similar like this we would be putting in the.
Is there basements in it?
And we're gonna have that option, so if they want a
Okay.
basement, fine, if they don't, fine.
Mrs. Lawless' concern was that the stairs for elders, and I mean, that's pretty,
Basically, they're designed so that you don't have to go to the basement.
okay,
Main floor, everything.
okay,
You can use it as storage, but your laundry, your bedrooms, everything is on the main floor.
okay.
I'm gonna tell you, to be honest, I really don't wanna extend Lawrence Street. I used to live on a dead-end street myself, and it
Okay.
is nice to have the traffic not go down through. I agree with you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
thanks for your comments. And I think you've hit a couple points there, that we've had people have to leave town because they haven't been able to find accommodations that hopefully we can get built. And I think that's very important. And so,
Ken Porter.
Ken? Now, if, the way it works is you can talk through me, Ken, to them or whatever, but go ahead, ask the question.
The stormwater pond Just a minute, Ken.
You want the mic back to Ken?
It's not recorded at the moment.
Okay. The stormwater pond, will it always have water in it?
It's supposed to, the way MTE's designing it is it's supposed to be a dry pond.
It's supposed to be a dry pond,
Yes,
but it is designed to have water in it.
yes.
Will there be fencing or anything like that?
That is, if it need be, yes.
Are we looking at a mosquito breeding ground? Is it always gonna be marshy?
No, I don't wanna design it like that, cause I would, when I design this, if I wouldn't wanna live there myself, I'm not gonna build it, I'm not gonna design it.
Okay.
So no, I don't want a mosquito pond beside my house.
Okay.
We don't
now,
know yet.
The entrance and egress of the cul-de-sac onto George Street.
Yes?
Now, whose property would that be right at the T intersection,
Right here?
right there?
I'm not sure exactly who lives across the street, to be honest with you.
It's very close to mine, and I really don't want the T intersection in my front yard. So it's either mine or my neighbor's right there, by the looks of things.
Your building is which one?
61 George Street North.
Which building, what does it look like? I'm sorry, I don't know which exactly it is.
A raised bungalow with white pillars.
Okay.
You're down to the right, more across from the ball diamond.
Yeah.
So that's,
Basically-
the ball diamond's out
Okay.
there, so you'd be down past.
Each one of these lots, you can't see it from there, is 62 feet. From that fence line, measure over 124 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then 30-foot road. You don't know whether it's gonna be in front of your building. The only reason we did that is this divides these two lots equally.
The new drawing I just submitted to the MT stage for them to try to work with, it does line them up. It does try to line the two streets up so it makes sense, and it actually curves around and goes back in like an S, that way you get more privacy and stuff and more flow.
Okay,
Except it's all depends on the drainage. We were.
and that's a concern too, because that property across the road was always low and it's been built up and that kind of thing, so, and we know from historically that if you put asphalt on something, it's gonna run water off it
Right.
and will be lower,
Yes.
so.
But what we're proposing, our step right, today was, what we're proposing is right now from the front of the school forward to the street, it's all draining towards the road.
All draining towards George Street,
All draining towards George Street.
but George Street, the storms won't take that.
No, and that's going to be upgraded.
Yeah, storms are being upgraded on George Street
Those-
this year. Am I right? Is it,
Those storms were upgraded less than 20 years ago.
But they will be upgraded this year, and there will be capacity in the storm sewer.
Right.
And will that be at taxpayers' expense or the developer's expense?
That will be full.
Be both.
Now,
Because that storm wasn't upgraded that long ago.
I'm not sure when it was last upgraded, I never checked, but, you know,
it was in the program to do this year, George Street.
Well, it shouldn't be. No, it would be the storm on George. The North Ward drain it comes off and goes across the William Street, road allowance up the side.
Where I was going with that,
Okay.
as far as our design, if this, from the front of the school, going forward to George Street now,
Yeah.
is roughly about 150 feet, okay? We're only going to take the first 25 feet of the building and pour it towards George Street. The remainder is going to go back and go into the pond. So we shouldn't be adding any more, and we won't be adding more as a pre to post stormwater management system to George Street.
Right, and I think that's not etched in stone yet, because we're still working on that, but I think what you have to wait for, and you'll have an opportunity
Oh,
to talk
absolutely.
about it, but,
But I don't think the George Street storm drain needs to be redone, like if you're gonna redo storms every 15 to 20 years, that's a big infrastructure problem you've got.
well, I'll,
there's a capacity calculation that has to be done with any development.
right,
Yeah,
And
but
honestly,
I would,
the way it handles it now, the street runoff.
mhm. So now with adding to it, we don't want to add to a problem that might already exist.
right, I
So-
would say it's being replaced, though, it's being replaced because of the development, not just because it needs replaced.
Not,
That's not the case.
no.
It
But
doesn't-
we can talk about that. That's not about this particular project, I mean, in fairness. If we can have a discussion on that at a later time, yourself and Brian, and we'll bring in the engineer,
and that, well,
talk about it.
sure, stormwater is part of this discussion.
Well, it is part of the discussion, but what I'm saying is, what they have to provide is, they have to provide a storm management that doesn't impact what's already there.
Okay.
And they gotta make sure, and if we're, hopefully, we can maybe even help it, but at the same token, that's what we're looking at.
And Maitland Valley said they were going to change the flood fringe a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll be notified of that as well.
Well,
They've done it
they've- Yeah, they,
We haven't been notified, because that would affect the properties abutting it.
I can't answer that.
hang on, well,
Linda might be able to answer that.
What is happening here is we're adjusting the zoning based on the flood elevations the Conservation Authority gave us. So it will change the flood fringe for this property. It makes it slightly smaller, but they have a lot of things they'll have to do to get to that point. It won't really change the flood fringe as it pertains to the other properties, only because this is the process to change that, this zoning process. If there's others that it's gonna change for, then we do have to give notice and go through that process for others. But, so this is the process to adjust the flood fringe for this group, for that property.
Isn't it true that when you're building properties, the grading and the drainage won't be allowed to flood anyone else or to flood out property, so it has to be done when you're doing the building? So the drainage would have to
Right.
go somewhere. So obviously, when it's built, it'll be drained properly, that's the way
Right.
it's supposed to be. And if it's not, then
And you know,
then it's
and you know
the
as
drain.
well as I do, in theory, that works really well. But if I get my basement flooded out, it doesn't work so well.
If I may, and
Absolutely right. That's
may
why they
answer.
have that rule in.
Right on.
Ron?
to Councillor Elliott's question, when the engineering analysis is done by the developer's engineer, it will come to the town, and the town will send it to its engineering consultant, who is here, that's Triton Engineering, and that will be reviewed, and there will be a servicing agreement signed that commits this developer to that work. So it'll have two engineering looks, and it'll have to meet standards, so if it causes flooding off the property onto yours or anyone else's, we've got a couple of engineering firms in the town to go visit about whose fault that is.
Excellent. That's good. As long as we keep the lines of
Well, and I
communication
think
open.
that's exactly right. I mean, this is what we're doing tonight, getting the back and forth, because I know it's out there in the public, and we don't want people to think, well, this is what's going on, nobody's telling you anything, so.
Well,
But it's a little ahead of it, because we haven't got all the answers yet, but we're working on those.
so there won't be a vote on the amendment tonight?
There's no bylaw tonight.
No bylaw tonight?
No. This was an open meeting to get, we already had that first open meeting just to get sort of the concept of what we might want to do with the
Yep.
property.
And I missed that one?
And the idea was, it came out in spades that we need some senior housing or some, that type of thing, and, so then when we entertained, offers on it, we wanted to try to get that going, and I think, the Metzgers have shown a willingness to work with us on that. So I'm happy with what they're trying to come up with, and we'll have to make sure it works for everybody.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions?
Yep. Yep.
Might as well continue, because I'm on the same subject, he's my neighbor.
I know, Dale, yeah, yeah.
Now, yeah, I'm here because I made my motion and ideas clear down at the other meeting down
Right.
at the arena. And I just wanna put it on record, that's why I came here.
Yeah.
And there's been infilling of a lot across from the school. And that dumped water, and the drains are there, but it dumped water onto your treasurer and all of his neighbors. And this is what's going on with this. I don't object to that because I might wanna live there someday. But the point is that that northward drain is paramount importance. And, I conflict a bit with my neighbor. That drain has never been touched since. It's come down William, goes across George, and then down Union. That's where that northward drain goes.
Okay.
And all I'm saying is, you can say that, well, we can, Maiden Valley says you gotta infill to build a house on it. And when you do, you put all the water in your neighbors. This project is gonna put all the water up on, against him, me, and everybody else on that lower land that never had to infill. Okay? And I want it known that if I do get flooding because of this or any other one, that I know who I will sue. And it'll be the town and their engineers.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
hopefully our engineers don't make it happen, because that's,
Yeah.
I mean, and Bill said, we're gonna have 2 sets of engineers on this.
Yeah,
And I know, I wouldn't want you to be flooded either.
I know engineers.
Yeah, yeah, you should.
And you gotta understand that, engineers and theory
Yeah.
are great, but it doesn't always pan out that way. Like Maitland Valley and their flood things, you know, I don't agree with them either. You know what stopped, no, but you know what stopped the flooding in Harrison? By taking out the CNR bridge.
Yeah.
And that gave, a river is nothing but a drain. And the most important thing to any drain is its outlet. And the piles were put in there about 30, 35 feet apart. And it was just like a dam.
Yeah.
And it backed up all the water in Harrison. I kept telling my wife, I want to, after they built the new Main Street Bridge, I want to see a flood.
Just so you can see.
One day I went down there, and there was this much air. The water was that full. Went down on John Street, same. And a little bit of water come up on, was Mrs. Weber's property.
Right.
But no flood.
No.
And I say, yeah, we'll get a flood, but nothing like we used to get.
No, I agree.
And because of the outlet of the river leaving town is better.
Maybe the engineers are getting smarter.
No, they just got rid of that
Oh.
bridge. And I'm not saying get rid of a bridge, no, don't get me wrong.
No, no. I'm not, I'm all for a development
Sorry,
here.
Steve.
Yeah.
And how you do it is up to you
Well,
guys.
and Neil, in fairness, we're gonna really work hard at making sure, as best we can, and I mean, there's no for sure thing in the world, but we know that's a concern. I mean, we don't wanna end up having a worse situation on the North Ward drain than we have today.
You gotta understand one more thing. Most of the houses down in our area, when they were built, there was no storm drain.
No. Okay, I didn't know that.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why, there is a problem with building up this land and flooding us. Yeah. So, that's all I
Well,
had.
if the storm retention pond can hold it back, that's the concern, right?
I think I brought a petition in, it's gotta be crawling for 3 years ago, and I've heard nothing since, and this worries me. And I had a friend of mine.
Well, we've been working on the north, we've had people working on the North Ward drain
It would be nice if you
situation.
would give us and the people that signed that petition a report, because it's very important to us. That drain is
Yep.
everything,
No, I understand.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question before Mr. Murray leaves. As far as history is concerned, what houses were there when that drain was put through? Or the storm? Because you said most of those houses weren't there?
No, we've been there 3 years, and that drain was put in when I was there, after I was.
After you were there.
After I bought the house.
But most of the newer houses on George Street were put in after that infrastructure was put in, correct?
No, I wouldn't say so. There was quite a few of them that were occupied at that time. Now, on the school property and on my property, on William between King and George, there was 5 feet of pit run put in there. Elmer Dennison hauled it in, yeah. And that used to be a lake down there at one time. And I'd just like to hear from you what is going on with that, because I am truly interested in that. Because I intend to, like somebody else said, I might be living down there, you know?
Yep.
I'm not young anymore. Thanks.
Well, I'll look into that, where that is, but I know part of it is we've been trying to work, as you know, with the Chickadance thing, and that delayed a little bit. We were working a bunch of different angles.
Yeah.
So I'll find out where it is.
Okay,
Let you know.
thanks.
Okay. Right? Any other from the public on this project? Okay. Thanks, guys.
Good job, guys.
Good luck, boys.
Get her done.
I will state that if you wish to be notified of the decision of council of the town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 1ZO, or email at dwight@townofminto.on.ca. If there are no further other comments, I'll adjourn the public meeting. No.
Just before we go, could we have a discussion with council about procedure? In the case of the Clifford situation where we had the ball field rezoning, we agreed to give notice back to people when the bylaw came forward. Is that council's wish in this case, that the people who sign this sheet would get a notice when the bylaw comes back and when some of these details come back?
I will so move.
Move, second by Councilor Elliott. All in favor? Okay, yep, that's good. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, that's because it's still not, haven't even got to the bylaw yet. All right. And we have a second public meeting. Second public meeting is to consider amendment to the Town of Minto zoning bylaw number 0186 for the properties located at Lot 11, Lot 1 and Lot 2, registered plan 61M179, with municipal addresses of 101, 139, 145 Tuffy McDougall Court, Harrison, Town of Minto. I'll act as the chair of the public meeting. Call the meeting to order and request any member of the public present to please sign the attendance record. And I will state that if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the persons or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the Ontario Municipal Board, and the persons or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the board unless, in the opinion of the board, there's a reasonable grounds to do so. I'll turn it over to CAO Clerk White to advise the purpose and effect of the public meeting when the notices are sent.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone lots 1 and 2 from R1C20 to R2 to allow a 4-unit street townhouse development. Additional relief is being sought from the siting requirements as follows: a reduction in the minimum front yard setback from 7.6 meters to 5.5 meters, a rear yard setback reduction from 7.6 meters to 3.1 meters, and an increase in the maximum lot coverage from 40% to 55%. Notices were mailed to property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property and to applicable agencies and posted on the property March 27th, 2013. Comments were received from the Town of Minto Fire Chief and Chief Building Official with no comments, from the Drain Inspector Mike McIsaac noting that drainages to the site be maintained through a site plan. County of Wellington Senior Planner Linda Redmond report is attached to your agenda, and Linda is here tonight to speak to this amendment. The proper Conservation Authority comments that are here. We have reviewed the above noted application for zoning bylaw amendment with respect to provincial and authority policies. Their recommendation is that based on our concerns brought forward December 10th in the letter to Triton Engineering, MVCA has no concerns with the proposed zoning amendment, provided that the minimum opening elevations of the buildings are no lower than 381 meters. I do have their December 10th, 2010 letter in which they do outline that requirement. And as I mentioned, there is a representative from Triton Engineering here today.
Thank you. I'll make this short and sweet. I don't know if it was mentioned in the explanation, but there's another reduction that's being requested, and that's to allow an exterior side yard setback for one lot at the corner of Alora, to allow that exterior side yard setback to be reduced from 7.6 meters to 4.5 meters. And the rationale is that they'd like to keep the house in line with the homes that are fronting on Elora Street. So they want to maintain that streetscape. The bylaw already permits this type of exemption when the house is facing the same way, so it's a technicality. So the bylaw already permits this type of thing. The lands are already zoned and designated residential, so there is no change. The residential designation allows the multiple residential use that's being proposed. And again, it's a, we like to see some intensification, so the change to the townhouse units is always welcome, to see a little bit more of affordable housing and that type of use going in. The applicant did not provide really a rationale as to why they wanted to reduce the lot coverage as well as the setback, so I'm hoping they're here tonight to give that explanation. But in our opinion, they are minor variances to what's required. They're still providing a front yard, they're still providing a rear yard, which is generally used for amenity space. So that's still there, and so we really have no concerns with it, but an explanation would be good. I assume it's the building type that is dictating this, so we support it. We have no concerns.
Thank you, Linda.
Questions for? I'll call on the agent, the applicant or the agent to provide comments regarding are you speaking, Paul, or? Okay. I saw Dan going like. Okay.
Just a good friend. Hello, I'm Paul with Triton Engineering. I'm representing Dan. I can't, Dan, you might have to help me with the rationale for the size of building that we chose. I think it was based on a particular design you had set out for this, and that's what he has a footprint in mind, and that was the plan for that. Just before we get to that though, just a little bit of an explanation about lot 1 and 2. We're trying to, I think this will be a big improvement. Currently right now, things to remember about this set of lots is it goes back to a draft plan of 1990. So these lots were fabricated back then. Tim Hortons didn't exist.
Right.
Lot 1 currently now, if it had access out onto Elora Street, would be directly across from the Tim Hortons entrance.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to be backing out into that. So this we do get 4 units versus originally 2, but all the accesses will be off the internal street, Tuffy McDougall Drive. Is that right?
Yeah. Court.
Court. I knew it was Tuffy. So that was part of that. And as far as the style of building, maybe Dan, you could explain the rationale for picking that.
So as far as the style of building, the way I figured it out is if we have, it's gonna be based on seniors living. So I wanna have a garage with each unit and main floor bungalow style. I am gonna have basements in because we don't have the Maitland Valley issue up there. So being that said, on the footprint that we've designed on the lots, it allows for roughly 975 to 1,000 square feet each unit plus a garage. So I think that's a pretty reasonable size that people want to live in at that stage in their life. I wouldn't mind doing it myself, but you know.
You're not that old yet.
No. So that's why we went with a footprint like that, because when working with Paul, I wanted to maximize what we could do, and if they do end up a little bit smaller, then they fit the footprint. So.
In elevations for drainage, all the top foundations will match what was approved from the original subdivision, so there's no change to any of that.
Right.
Drainage patterns will be maintained, and the drainage goes where it was intended to go, so there's no real change to that at all. That's all I have.
Mayor Bridge,
Councilor
if I
Paul.
might, Paul, before you leave that, the lot right beside lot 1, I guess if, from Tuffing McDougal Court, it'd be the lot in behind Lot 1.
Yes.
Where's the access got on that lot? Because the other one can be accessed from Tuffing McDougal Court, but that one there would be landlocked, would it not?
Which lot was that?
Lot 1's a corner.
It's already developed.
It's already developed, that's a house on there,
Oh, there's a house on there, that's
Yeah.
right.
so it's all right.
Pardon me,
Okay.
pardon me.
Yeah, you're good.
Maybe confused.
It's a good question, but yeah, it's already there, right?
And it does front on, it fronts right.
It fronts right on,
onto
that's
Lower
right.
Street, yeah.
Deputy Mayor Fisk.
I just have a question about sidewalks. Have we taken into account room here for sidewalks?
There were no sidewalks for this development.
I'd be concerned if we're gonna have seniors and we've reduced the setback and they're going to basically have to walk on the court or the street rather than the sidewalk. I'd have some concerns about that, I think.
In front of this set of lots, the road was, it's part of the subdivision agreement, moved from the center line of the right-of-way, okay? I call it towards these lots, to align in future with the Chicken Dance development. So the boulevard on this side of the road isn't wide enough for a sidewalk anyways. The only place for a sidewalk would have been on the other side. So there is no opportunity for a sidewalk on the flankage of lots 1 and 2. And that was done, as part of, to fix that problem, because what the town was faced with originally, you had a 1990 plan of subdivision, and I think, the Leslie subdivision, or Chicken Dance subdivision is of that vintage as well. That intersection would have been offset, which is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, this realignment, even though you lost the opportunity for a sidewalk, to me, was the lesser of the evils to get this intersection realigned, especially with Tim Hortons there, because it does add to the traffic, there's no doubt.
That was the compromise I know we made, but I think what Deputy Mayor Fisk is saying, that we didn't know it was gonna be senior housing at the time. But kids are the
Kids
same.
too, yeah.
Kids too, but
I
there was
think
no.
sidewalks are important. I don't think we stress them enough, personally.
Yeah. Bill, you wanna speak?
Just a question, if I may, along the lines of Deputy Mayor's concern. With townhouses, the interior units on lot 1 and 2, they won't have access to their backyard because they have common walls. Would it be something to look at to have a right-of-way along the back with a sidewalk along the back, that they could come out through back doors onto a walkway out to the lower street there? Is that something that you could look at?
It could be, but the other concern I have with that is the people on the outside units technically don't have a backyard, right? So, what I was planning on doing was putting exterior decks out the back of each unit because of the setback on the side yards, and having maintenance-free,
Landscape, so they would have a deck instead of grass to worry about.
yeah, is what we were planning. So you'd still have an exit out front and back of the home.
Isn't our thought process was to bring the sidewalks to on that side, Terry? At least we'd have them on Laura Street. But we wouldn't be able to have them in the subdivision itself. But when we do the new road there, we were talking about sidewalks on that side. They come up to, past Crescent here now, right?
Yes.
And we're to extend them right to the subdivision.
What, if I may, Mayor Bridge, just those interior units, we're gonna have to talk about that, because even if you did do maintenance-free, once it's 4 people owning it, and you gotta go in and tear out the deck, or remove stone, or whatever, you gotta get across someone else's property to get in. So, we're probably gonna need some kind of right-of-way. But it doesn't have to be a sidewalk, but I just thought that might be something we could look at. Agree, they do need decks or something out there, for sure.
Okay. Good thoughts. Anything else from the council?
Just,
Yep.
we have, in Palmerston, we have a couple of subdivisions that, for sure, that don't have sidewalks, and it doesn't seem to be a real big concern because everybody seems to drive in slowly when they get there and there's lots of room for walking around. As a matter of fact, when I'm walking, I actually go off into those subdivisions and get off the sidewalk because it's a better walk. And I feel safer in there than being out in the traffic area. On Laura Street would be the same kind of thing. So I don't think it's as much concern as what you would think then.
Okay. I guess I'll call on anybody wishing to comment in favor of the proposed amendment, over and above what Forrest had. Anybody wishing to comment in opposition to the proposed amendment? Anybody at all? Okay. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, that's good. Again, it's nice to see some, what I call, I wouldn't call them senior, mature residents, because I'm a mature senior. I'm immature, maybe senior, yeah. So if you wish to be notified of the decision of council of the town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1ZO, or email at bwhite@townofminto.on.ca. Are you doing the same thing on this one, or we?
Well, Mayor Bridge, I believe there is a bylaw on for you to consider
For
on
this
that
one.
one tonight.
Yeah, right. So if there's no further comments, I'll adjourn the public meeting. Thank you. All right. Everybody can have, it doesn't want to stay, can go now if they want, but we have really exciting stuff happening right now. Real exciting. You want to take over, Gordon? You're going to be my go-to person because Belinda's not here. Okay.
Here on the good news issue here.
Oh, we have another good
I don't
news,
think
too.
it'll be too controversial anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be our third annual Mayor's Golf Tournament. And the process for people who don't know is we have community groups and they apply. And we have a little committee and we try and decide which 2 or 3 groups we will support this time. We're trying to rotate it around different types of groups and different parts of the community. And it's been very successful. It's always a lot of fun trying to see what kind of a new twist we can put on. I think we should have patented the Beat the Pro. I gather it's become very popular. And our mayor and Janet Klemp are very experienced golfers, so they know a lot of the...
Jan's probably a better golfer than I am, but that's right.
Could be.
Probably.
We're experienced.
Mandy and I just try and do organizing. Anyway, tonight we have some representatives from the 3 benefiting groups this year. And I'd like to call upon them individually. So first we have Melody Martin with the Hairston Figure Skating Club. So just tell us a bit about the organization.
Thanks, Melody.
So, I have been the president of the Harrison Skating Club. This is gonna be my 3rd year. We have been in the community for 55 years.
Yep, long time.
And we have kids from 2 to 18 years of age. We recently launched a Check It Out program. It's a 6-week program inviting children to come and check it out and see if they like skating. It's been very successful. We've had a lot of skaters come back and continue for the rest of the year and come back the year after. The club exists for the children of the community, and we all know organized sports are very important. For the next season, if we have a profit at the end of the year from this donation or from the fundraiser, I would like to give the parents of the members of our club the opportunity to suggest and vote on the best way that they think that this money should be used towards our club.
Great. And we will definitely have a profit.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, no, welcome aboard.
Thank
I know
you.
it's a lot of fun too, and I don't know if you realize, but the groups get to work with us in the planning and have some fun with that too, and we get to use the volunteers. And this year, I'm looking forward to some of the children to come out because we can do some things, and so it's gonna be some fun. Yep.
Okay.
Melody? And from Minto Minor Ball, we have Danielle Sill and Rhonda Sill.
Tag team.
It's the Sill sisters.
And neighbors
If you know
even.
us, if you know the Shills, there's not usually just only one of us.
And you're even neighbors, right?
Yes,
Across
right
the road
across
from
the
each
road.
other.
Yep, that's right.
Good looking too.
Yes.
On the mother's side, on the mother's side, obviously.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, first of all, we'd like to thank you for inviting us tonight, to speak on behalf of, Minto Minor Ball. Now, we were trying to figure out when Minto Minor Ball had actually, emerged. We're thinking 2001, but before that, it was obviously Palmerston, Harrison, and Clifford. Now, my understanding is that Clifford and Harrison had kind of quieted down, and Palmerston Minor Ball was still going on. I know it was in '78 for sure, because I was playing it as a child in Palmerston, so, it continued to go, on, and then, we kind of took over things. There kind of was, invited to come aboard the executive, so we decided at that point that we'd like to amalgamate as Minto, as we had obviously had as we had become Palmerston, no longer Palmerston, Harrison, and Clifford. So along with that, we came up with a new logo, and we've had we've struggled a few years with numbers. With kids, but this year we are very successful. We have 9 teams, and it's all from ages, from like T-ball right up to even junior. Now, we've never had, in the time that I've been involved, we've never had a junior team, so it can go from like 3 years of age to 21.
Right, wow.
So there's a good bunch of kids that go out, and it's both boys and girls. We are a local team. We do play out of a league, inter-county softball association. So then we play throughout other ones, Rockwood. I'm trying to think, Arthur's always there, Alma.
Grand Valley, Drayton, Moorfield.
Yes. There's quite a bit, a loop anyway. So we would like to keep our costs down for our parents. So we do certain fundraisers, and we really are so excited about this one.
Excellent. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Good job.
So again, I want to say thanks to the mayor too, and the staff and the council for inviting Minto Minor Ball into this wonderful event. I know Rhonda and I were both involved with it last year.
Yes, I know you did.
With another organization, and it really is great that the town can help youth sports with the funds that they need for these things. So with that in mind, we do have a lot of volunteers that help out with baseball. So we've been providing healthy outdoor physical activity for these kids for a lot of years, which, as we all know, is really important nowadays for the kids to get out and do that. And in order to do that, we need to keep the costs down. We have been able to keep the registration fees fairly stable over the last few years with minimal increases, just barely meeting our needs. And in those years, the equipment is deteriorating, of course. The first aid kits, all the things that are needed out on the ball diamond, we basically kind of just slap them together ourselves. So with the money that's generated from the Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament, we'd like to provide updated, complete first aid kits for every team to have one. Equipment bags, new and improved equipment. The ISA has also passed down new safety guidelines that we have to implement, and now they were implemented last year, but not everybody was able to get out and purchase what was needed. So the kids need helmets with cages on them now. It is a safety issue, you know, their teeth, their face, and everything else. So there's a lot of kids out there that can't afford these things. Yep. So Minto Minor Ball would like to have them on hand to be able to give to those kids to use, as well as the umpires and the diamond time and the tournament expenses. We do take on 1, 2, and I believe 1 year we took on 3 tournaments to officiate to help raise money for Minor Ball. But
again, there's other teams within ISA that like to take those tournaments as well. So we can't have them every year. This year, we're fortunate enough to be able to do one, I believe. So, two? Yes. Two, okay. And also the umpires, I believe fees are going up. They're, you know, they do spend a lot of time there, and I'm sure all of you have been to a ball game. The umpires get a lot of flack from the fans, from the players, from the coaches. We really do believe that the increase that we're going to be paying them is long overdue.
Right.
So, as well, that's another thing that, that will be.
Oh, come on, Ron. We didn't give you that hour of time, did we?
that- Yeah.
Some of us here have all umpired at one time in our lives.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
They're like engineers, obviously by the theme of the night, they're like engineers. Too much.
So I think that's about it, but again, we're really appreciative that we can be involved in this, so thank you again.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep,
If
yes.
I could. I've sort of had a history with minor ball, actually probably about 35 years of it. I actually started running it.
You're not that old,
in
are you,
ball
Ron?
as a coach, so we've been involved for many, many years, and now I'm glad to see young people like yourselves come forward and start operating this, and I know how difficult it is, and the history of the ball goes back, and to help our local people and the local people in our communities that have, you know, I wrote down 3 names that I thought of right away, and I thought Scotty McLean, and Eldon McLaughlin, and George St. Marie, and Clifford, and just, you name those people and you think about how minor ball is, and I'm very proud of our council that we chose to support this group, and it's been always precious for me to see the kids play, and I think we continue to do that, and it's fun for everybody.
Great.
Thanks.
Nine teams, that's super. Good.
Yeah, we do put out a lot of championship teams too.
Yes,
So
I know
last
you
year,
have,
I
yeah.
believe there was, 6 of our teams? 5 or 6 that brought home the
Yep.
Yeah.
championship last year, so.
We were very successful that way too.
Well, thanks. I'm gonna be looking forward to working with you again. You did a great job last year. Had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, we did have fun.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Fisk.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if perhaps Councillor Elliott would consider donating his umpiring services for a year to help out the cause.
I already have them roped into a couple of times. with the
Counselor
coaches,
Elliott,
so-
Counselor Elliott doesn't get his umpire's fees, you can talk to Counselor Elliott's wife.
Do you know her?
They don't allow him to do too many games, at least when the poor ones.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, girls.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy and Danielle. And finally, we have Mary Isles from the Palmerston Marlins. Nice to tell you about the Marlins.
Excellent. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I think Palmerston Marlins kind of squeaked in at the last minute. We had missed the original deadline, but we had the opportunity to come forth and have been allowed to participate, I think. So this is fantastic. So good evening. I'm Mary Isles, and I'm here on behalf of the Palmerston Marlins Ladies Softball Association. This sports organization has been in the community, around the community for a number of years, and it has enabled hundreds of local young women with an impressive avenue to further develop their softball skills, potential further their development, their educational skills via scholarships, make lifelong friends, and create a ballpark-sized book full of memories. Being involved in the Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament would be a terrific asset for all the girls and their families involved. Each Marlins team as a whole is required to cover the cost of umpire fees, diamond costs, insurance coverage, leave fees, uniforms, and apparel merchandise, as well as tournament fees and any tournament accommodations if necessary. So, each player on those teams is required to collect their own sponsorship or donations to assist with their total ball registration to cover the above-mentioned costs. So, having some additional funds available to each team would be, well, a home run to say the least. Of course, these funds would help to offset all of the costs in the previously mentioned items, as well as assist any of our amazing teams that make a trip east if they happen to qualify for Eastern Championships, which a number of teams have done in the past, and I am sure some more will in the future. But protocol would be that the Marlins organization as a whole would donate to their journey. So, money raised from the Mayor Charities Golf Tournament would have lots of opportunity to make an impact through some amazingly talented young women, and on a personal note, I would be considered a rookie in the Marlins organization, as last year was my first involvement with this team. But to say the least, my 3 girls have counted down the days until ball started with the Marlins again this summer. last summer, although quite busy, it really was a fantastic learning opportunity. We brought new and improved skills, a lifetime of friends for them and me, and of course, we have started to fill that ballpark-sized book of memories. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you on that. Up until
Yeah, Mayor
and,
Bridge, the Marlins have been going for 17 years, and you talk about pioneers, Dave
Yes.
Moore was one of the first. He saw the need. And so this summer, we have a provincial qualifier going on, and also a provincial grand championship for the juniors going on in Palmerston. So,
Excellent.
And I umpired at that first Marlin tournament.
And you know what? I think they still never had you back, right?
Every year.
Every
Thank you
year,
very
oh,
much.
okay, every year he's back. Anyways, very good, and we'll have some fun with it, I know.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mary,
Mary.
that's great. And of course, we are always open for more players and sponsors, and we have different forums, and we look forward to finalizing the arrangements, and should be a good day.
Should be.
Thanks.
And it is August the 15th.
Yes, it's a Thursday. I think we've checked the schedule, and as far as we're aware, there aren't too many other tournaments
right.
around that time, so it's good. Thanks.
More in the news. Thanks. And just to give you an idea, of the last 2 years, we've raised $14,000 for the groups. So last year, I think everybody got about $3,000, am I right? And we're hoping that if we fill it again, that's what we can hope to do again. So that's what we're looking for, so. Anyways, thanks, everybody. Okay. And we have our next group is we have Minto Safe Communities Committee, and we have Don and Todd here to talk to us about, this is a really neat project you're working on, so I won't say anything more. We were able to read it, so we have a bit of a neat. No, I won't ruin your presentation.
Well, for those who don't know me, I'm Don Sedek. Currently, I'm the chairman of the Minto Safe Community Committee, and Todd Pridham here is our treasurer, our liaison with the OPP, as well as a good member, and I should say probably the kids' Friday night dance instructor.
Yeah.
It was pointed out to us that we had been very quietly doing our thing, and a lot of people don't know some of the things that we did, and they suggested that maybe we come and give you a bit of a summary, because it's almost 3 years now that we've been in existence.
Yep.
So I'm gonna ask Todd to do that, but it also gives us the opportunity to talk about our latest project that we're really excited about, so up to you.
Up to me? That's correct. Yeah, it's almost 3 years. We started in May of 2010 when I tracked it back, so we've established ourselves now. Like any new group, we weren't sure what we were gonna do. So we put our minds together. At the time, in the town of Minto, we were having a real problem with theft from autos, kids car hopping, stealing change, et cetera, out of vehicles. So where we started was with the Lock-It Music program, which is the OPP's dealt with for several years. So we implemented that with the OPP. We used auxiliaries and went town to town, did that for quite a while. Eventually, we noticed about a 25% reduction in vehicles that were open, and property that was visible. We found vehicles with keys in them, with purses, unlocked. It was unbelievable what you come across. So, of course, those people got their doors knocked on,
Yep.
slapping their wrists. So we started off with that. So we did notice a reduction vehicles being unlocked. The next thing we wanted to do was actually ask the people what they wanted us to do, or what they wanted to see in the community. So we did a survey with kids in all the schools in Minto from grades 4 to 12. And we asked them what activities they would like to see in the community. So we got a lot of interesting feedback from that. We also asked the adults. We did a Survey Monkey survey on the Town of Minto website, and asked some various questions, and basically it came back that everyone, it was a pretty high rating that they felt safe So from that information, we carried on, and one of the things that the kids came up with, and we came up with, was youth dances. So we started that back in June of 2011. So far, we've had 17 dances. Last February, the Valentine's dance, we hit a record attendance of 185 kids.
Right.
Wow. Which is
Pretty big.
unbelievable. We have an average anywhere from 130 to 150 and usually higher, so it's gone over very well. And the kids are getting younger. We've got grade 1 kids coming now. It was kind of grade 3 and 4s, but now they're done at grade 1, so I don't know if it's a daycare service too, or the parents just dump them off at the
Yep,
door and off
yep.
they go
Go for a
hours,
dance.
so. But it's gone over very well. We've got actually people that are in our committee coming to help as well, some parents that we know. We've actually have some high school kids coming to get their community hours that they need to graduate. Some ambassadors of the fair, Olivia Douglas has come back. She's continued to help us, and Jordan Goodall as well, so it's good to get them working with youth as well. So one other thing that we've launched recently was last June, the Road Watch program. It's, I think most of you know it, but it's basically a road safety program that allows citizens to report aggressive and dangerous driving. And they can do that after the fact. They're encouraged to go online to Road Watch and report the incident that way. Or they can fill out a form, which is available. We've had drop boxes at the Palmerston and Clifford Library, as well as Dave Anderson's MQ office. You can pick up a form and you can fill it out and put it back in the drop box. We'll pick it up from there. So as a result, warning letters are sent out to those people, and if it's a reoccurring problem, they're gonna get a phone call and probably a visit from the OPP. So we've got that up and running, and we are getting some complaints coming in, not as many as we'd like, but it is working, so. At that Road Watch launch, we also had a kids bike rodeo that the Minto Optimists helped us out with, and we had a child restraint clinic as well that we did up at the fire hall, and that was put on by the Operators Insurance and the OPP. Actually planning a similar type of event in conjunction with the Minto Fire Department. They're the lead on it, and they've asked us to come in with them for a Minto Safety Day. That's going to be May 31st and June 1st at the Hairston Arena. May 31st is going to consist of grade 4 to 6 kids from Hairston and Palmerston, as well as the Mennonite schools that are brought in. So they're going to go through the various fire safety setups there, the smokehouse. We're going to have the rollover simulator. We're going to have a bike rodeo there for them as well. Different things that day. So that's mostly for them, 31st. And then June 1st is actually the Hairston Pancake Breakfast for the firefighters at the arena.
Right.
The fire hall's under construction. Yep. So it's going to be down there. We're going to have all that displays, all that same sort of stuff. We're hoping to have a bike rodeo again. We're going to have a seatbelt clinic actually at the fire hall. We're still going to be able to use the bays there. So it's going to be all kinds of stuff. It's all in the works. Police quarter is kind of heading that up, so we're going to take part in that as well. We're also, I'm sure everyone's heard of the Safe Communities Wellington. We're hoping to get Wellington County designated. We're hoping by June this year.
Yeah, I
So
think it's pretty close.
we're getting closer. We've been helping out with that as well. I think as they went through the 10-step process, they found that a lot of these things are covered off already, which is great.
Yeah.
And there's, we used to be called COPS committees. There's COPS committees or safe community committees in every community in Wellington County now. So, they're doing the similar sort of things or different things that they are. Everyone works on what they feel they need. So, we've been part of that as well. Other things we've been doing, we've been attending the fall fairs and setting up booths and meeting people and giving out information. We actually held a youth dance at the Palmerston Fall Fair. We were asked to do that. They're pretty good. Hopefully we can advertise it better this year. When the kids are out of school, it's hard to
find
get
them.
a hold of them. So, and we've been attending. Actually, this year we attended all the Santa Claus parades as well with the float. doing this, we have to go out and we've got signage, we've had to get signage and stuff printed and banners and stuff like that. Everything that we've done, we've shopped locally for it to support the community that we're in. And we're not here to ask for any money. We've prided ourselves on being self-sufficient financially. That's what we kind of wanted to do from the start, and we've been able to do that, help out some other people. Everything that we do make financially goes back to the community completely, so we've been doing good that way. And we're continually looking for new members. We've had a larger group, and you know how committees dwindle through the years. We've got some new members back and forth, but we could always use new members. If you know of anybody that would like to be part of the committee, let me know. And always looking for new projects to take on. We generally, at the start of the year, try to decide what we're gonna do, one, two, three projects per year, and take it from there, so. I'll turn it over to Don, and he'll let you know about our newest project.
I think our time is up.
Is it?
Hey, you didn't ask for any money, so take another 10.
Yeah, you're good, Don.
Well,
You're good.
like I was saying, most people come here with hat in hand, want to ask you for something. We want to give you something.
Yeah.
So could you go and give them each one of these, and maybe also the instruction sheet on paint by number? And I will,
Yes, boy, get out there and get doing it.
yeah. Every year, the Wellington County OPP have a workshop day for all the committees, for all the safe community committees. And it's been very great. It's been very good because we've had a wide range of topics and experts on just about everything: family violence, bullying, drug abuse, drug identification, and it just goes on and on and on. But at the end of each of these days, they have each committee give a recap of what they've been doing, like Todd just did. And one of the committees down in Pushlands, for the last 10 years, they have run what they call the Vial of Life. And I don't know if anybody is aware of it, but it's been going on in the States for many years. It's now sanctioned by the American Red Cross. And it is, I guess it's spread to right across the U.S. And this particular group saw it in Florida, and they brought it back to the Pushlands area, and it's been very successful there, targeting the seniors first of all, but families could get involved in this too. And it's very simple. It's just that there's a fridge magnet you put on your fridge to say that your medical information, your medications and everything are in the vial on the top shelf of your fridge door. And the emergency response people are aware to go into a home and go and look at that. And you know, when I heard about it at first, I thought, you know, I don't know where my wife even keeps her pills. I know now, I don't go in that drawer, but I know that that's where she keeps hers, and I have no idea what she takes. And if in an emergency now, I'm the kind of guy probably so excitable that when they would come in, I might even forget the drawer. So in this case, they can go there, they can get this information that will be in the vial, and basically it's what your name, your doctor's name, your OHIP number, any history of problems that you've had, and who your contact person should be, phone numbers and relationships and all that kind of thing. And it's so simple, but it works.
Yeah.
Now, there's one negative to this. Would you know what it might be? Don't all answer at once. It's keeping this up to date.
Up to date, yeah.
And what we are proposing to do, and it's gonna be a big order, is we will have a registry. And we are working very closely with Aitchison Pharmacy and also the prescription shop in Palmerston. They will be distributing these to people who ask for them. But and it's just as optional, but we will ask them to give us their name, phone number, and address, and the date that they received this. And then what will happen is somewhere along the line, maybe 6 months from now, we will be calling Counselor Faulkner and saying, have you done your homework?
Right.
And he will probably say, no, the dog ate it.
No.
Oh, you know him.
Yeah, but it will be a gentle reminder to either update it because your medications may have changed, or to remind you to at least fill it out. And some other enterprising, a person suggested to us recently that photostat that and put a copy of that with your ownership in your vehicle. You know, all that information would be there at a glance. So, we're excited about it right now. Like I say, we have the cooperation of the pharmacies, and we're going to go to the seniors groups, but eventually we'd like to expand this. The Pushlets group, I don't know, it's huge now, and they continue, but they also are always reminding people to update this thing, because that's the problem, that'll be the problem. But other than that, it's a great system.
I think it's a great idea, because it is something, in an emergency, you don't know, you don't grab it.
Yeah.
It really makes a difference.
That's right.
Now, Ron will just get Anne Marie to do that. 'Cause I
Sure.
know, she does all this stuff, keeps them updated, right?
And I don't know if there's enough room in the fridge for all his meds, but.
Okay, that's enough.
So
Going
are
down
there any
that.
questions?
There will be retribution.
No, I just think it's great, your group has done a great job, and I remember coming to Todd about a year or so ago, and I said, can we give you some money, or like, do you need money? And he said, no, we're fine. And that just shows you what you've been able to do with your group,
Yeah.
but don't, like, if there's a time you need something, let us know, but if you get other projects you can't take on, but I know you're self-sufficient, but it's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great group.
Super.
If you guys need money, Todd, like election year is good.
A lot of things can happen.
Great idea.
Okay. Slide.
I don't have any.
I just called him.
He's wrapping her up now.
Just before you get started, Terry, we have the,
Not yet.
not yet,
Working on it.
we have the public question period.
Oh,
Any public questions? No, okay, now you can go.
All right, first report I'm gonna do tonight is just give you an update on the risk management official meeting that I went to with reps
Oh,
from.
hang on, yeah. We have correspondence, is everybody, sorry, Terry, you're really in a hurry tonight.
I'm in a rush.
Okay,
I actually have a couple comments.
On the
regarding
correspondence.
correspondence, if, I don't wanna drag things on, but I guess the first one is the Minister of Energy. I'm just wondering if Westario has any comments regarding this report, or how it might affect them?
yeah. We don't have enough time, but.
Okay.
But I can fill you in, like, a
Right.
little bit on it, but there is some concern from Westario. Yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
And then the other one is drinking water source protection. Read the source water protection, I guess we're gonna talk about that indirectly. But in this particular correspondence, there's money being made available until the plans are finalized. And a good portion of the money is going to be used to verify threats. Up until now, they've been assumed threats, and I think there's a big gap there. So I think this may be the best money yet that they spend, and I'm assuming we're gonna get our threats down to a manageable size and hopefully reduce the cost accordingly. So hopefully that's what that turns out to be.
Okay,
We're good?
Just a motion to receive.
motion to receive correspondence. Councilor Elliott, Councilor Hamley, all in favor? And reports, and we've got Terry right there.
All right, so, just to give you an update on the county risk management official meeting that I went to on the 27th of March. As you're aware, the mayor's kind of nudged the county to hire a county-wide risk management official opposed to each individual one, either sharing the position or getting it on their own. So what the directives from the meeting came out with is that the county is going to fund that position just for the risk management official and associated vehicles or whatever that position itself needs. Center Wellington is working on developing a job description as well as pay grades and grids for that individual. And they're looking to hire that person either late summer or early fall. The game plan to get them on before the plans are finalized is kind of two-pronged. One is so that that individual can start working on getting familiar with the 5 or 6 plans we have in the county here, as well as to assess what the risk management inspector needs are going to be. It's going to vary municipality to municipality, and also, as Deputy Mayor Fisk mentioned, there's lots of threats that have been put out there but haven't been ground verified. Hence why our SOGI numbers are through the roof and not kind of in a even manageable area. The risk management official will be coming back to all the municipalities with a proposal for staffing requirements once the plans are in place. So hopefully by then some of the threats will be knocked off, as well as we have an idea, can we share this individual, what amount of time or is Minto here gonna need for that person? And we'll take it from there. So this is gonna be going to the planning committee in the first part of May, and then back to county council at the end of May.
Questions for Terry on? I think this is the route to go, and I know Gary Cousins have been paramount in reading all these plans and giving us this summary, so I appreciate the fact that you've been working with the county group, and it's a good way to start anyways.
Yeah, I think without kind of getting someone spearheading it and figuring out exactly what's going on,
Yep.
we'd be stumbling in the dark for the first little bit to get things going, so.
Also,
I read where Mapleton wasn't on board for this, and they're still not on board, or?
I haven't heard one way or the other. The reason why they weren't on board is they weren't sure about details in terms of how, like salary, what costs are gonna be associated with the, to the municipality itself. Wellington North did approve it. Their council had concerns as well as to who's going to be paying for this risk management official. Being the county's paying it, everyone in all the municipalities is chipping in part of their tax dollar to fund it. The risk management inspector position will be paid for based on the local municipality, whether it's water users spread across everybody, some sort of permit for these risk management plans. That'll be up to you guys.
So isn't it going to be difficult to decide how you're going to, the expenses and the costs of this are going to be spread out amongst the people that are involved? How could Mapleton come in after the fact if you've got to sit and figure out the dollars and the cents and how we spread it out and they're...
The risk management official position is solely paid for by the county.
I know.
So right now, each municipality isn't gonna have to cough out a dime. Their CAO's opinion was, once the job description and pay grid and all that comes, or is developed, then their council will jump on board. They just weren't sure at the time.
So at no time will this council won't be asked to participate in
funding the risk management official position. So there's a difference between risk management official and risk management inspector. This council will have to fund that position.
And when that risk manager, that'll be spread out amongst, or will it be our own?
The risk management inspector is gonna be based on need. If it's assessed and, you know, obviously it'll have to be realistic, and you guys are gonna be the ones.
So basically, we're going to be billed?
It depends on how it works out.
It's
not known at this time whether one inspector can do the whole county or whether it's one per lower tier.
Just to talk with Terry, what this is, Ron, is this person here will develop sort of once we know what the other inspectors are.
I got the first part.
But I'm hoping there, again, we've had some initial talks to the mayors about, at that point, is there ability for us to share one with Wellington North or with
Absolutely.
Maple?
Oh, I see.
Whatever.
Okay.
But again, this person here will give us a lot of information we need to know what that is gonna be.
When our needs are decided, that's when we'll decide what we
I
need.
think it's been good that the
Time
county
up.
stepped up and took this on, because
Right.
this would have been very difficult, as you said, Ron,
Yeah.
for us all to figure out what's our portion of cost.
Yeah.
So they've decided that we need this to start, and let's get this done,
Okay.
and they did it, yeah.
Thanks.
Motion to receive. Counselor Hemley, Counselor Curtin, all in favor? Carried, okay.
Okay, next update, just to get you all up to speed, is on the Saugeen Summer Nights concert that's happening in June. The town itself, we're working with the parking situation. Estimated numbers coming to the town of Hairston will be in the neighborhood of 12,000 people for the event. Based on Clifford's numbers, we found 3 parking lots that would carry the anticipated 3,000 vehicles that we would need to park. The parking lots that we identified was the Hairston Senior School, Hairston Motors, as well as a vacant industrial lot in the industrial park. The plan to get the attendees from the parking lots to the event is by walking. Basically, we've identified walking paths, and there is a pretty picture that Bill and I drew up in your packages. It identifies in yellow which are the 3 lots, and the black dashed line are showing the way to get to the event. Hairston Industrial Park is probably the furthest, and also houses or holds the most amount of vehicles that are approximately 1,800. Basically, the path is to go through the Industrial Park Road, John Street, road allowance, and then as fast as possible get people to the main street where there's big sidewalks, adequate lighting, and also gets everyone walking right downtown, which is always a plus there. Traffic. Being Hairston is kind of notorious on weekends, summer weekends for traffic. We've got an additional couple of vehicles coming. Our plan is to divert concert traffic around using lower used roads. So Highway 9, get them basically directed around Hairston so they're not clogging up the lights. We're also planning on signing just to identify in Tividale area that there's an event occurring ahead and to expect delays. People have GPS and they can always push that detour button to get around to where they want to go. Also closing a bunch of streets for, not closing them, sorry, preventing parking on some of the streets. Basically, the main one is going to be around the event itself, Young Street, most of George Street, and back to William. That's just for, one, you got lots of people moving. Second is for emergency vehicles. You don't want those plugged if we need to get people in out really quick. The second little section, it's a little hard to see, is a little stub of John Street and Adelaide Street. There's no sidewalks in those 2 little sections there. So just get people not to park there so that make it safer for the pedestrians coming and going. Security at nights in the parking lots. We are looking at having security staff kind of keep an eye on things as well as the OPP, and to provide 3 of the portable diesel-fired telescopic lighting lights. Figure 2 in the industrial park and 1 in the Hairston Senior School would give adequate lighting at night. Concerts are over around midnight, so it'll be midnight, 1 o'clock by the time people are there and heading out. Running the parking lots, we were in the process of contacting the service clubs and getting them to run the parking lots. And then there'll be a cost share between us and them, us to cover our basic costs with signs and light standards and that, and they get the rest. Those 3 parking lots, any given time, figure about 15 people are going to be needed. So it's not going to be a huge human resource. On-street parking, we're still kind of working on it, tossing up ideas, having service clubs going around, collecting donations to park, and just keeping people parking where they should be. And also, we've got to talk to the OPP. We figure we're going to need 1 OPP officer at the lights to allow people to move through faster than the light cycle, as well as at Tividale. It's kind of a messy corner with lots of traffic coming from 3 ways. Financial considerations, it is going to cost us some money up front to get the signs and lights and OPP and all stuff like that. Based on the numbers that I calculated the lots to carry, we could generate between 25 to 28,000 per night for the 3 nights, so around 84,000 could be available there for the cost sharing between us. So that's pretty much quick and dirty update on that. Any questions?
Counselor Elliott?
When you get to those lots, are you gonna have like porta potties available? Because quite often people be coming from quite a way and wow.
That definitely wasn't outlined in here, but it was something that when we debriefed from Clifford, that it was identified that was needed.
Yeah.
There is another big item for porta potties was at the entrance before you get into the event for people standing in line, so.
Or even at the lots? parking lots?
Definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
definitely.
I see it.
Yeah, definitely one that we will make note of for sure.
Mayor Fisk?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, so you talked about needing an OPP officer at the lights.
Yeah.
Those costs will be covered by the parking
Yeah, the
that's
cost share.
generated from
Yeah.
that. And will there be parking tickets issued on any of the streets in case of people parking supposedly illegally?
I ran the parking enforcement up in Clifford. I talked to the OPP as well as the fire chief up there. We did have instances of people parking right in front of hydrants and stuff like that. The thought was not to ticket. Case of emergency situations for accessing the hydrants, they just pop the windows and go through. You know what, SOL, just to keep things kind of, feeling good, opposed to tickets everywhere, so, or towing vehicles would be the other unfortunate. But if council wants me to start issuing
Just to
them.
follow up, Deputy Mayor Fisk, the areas that you have no parking.
Yep.
Are you going to have some kind of patrol there? Because you know what's gonna happen is somebody will park, one person
Yeah,
parks.
that's right.
Everybody will decide, well, you know what, it looks like it's a risk we take.
Yeah, I dealt with it in Clifford.
Yeah.
Like you said, usually it's one vehicle and then it snowballs. It was actually the locals that started doing it, but that was fine because they were usually hanging out there chatting with the neighbors, so I
Yeah.
just got them to move. Worst case scenario, we'll tow them.
Right.
That's one area, or those identified areas.
That's what I mean,
there's
those
no grace
identified
on
areas
those.
are going to be monitored and.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't, you're
Oh,
gonna end up.
no, I know.
Especially George Street, because everybody's gonna wanna get close.
So it's, there's no grace on those streets. You
Okay.
park there and it's gonna be advertised in the paper. It's gonna be well posted. You park there, unfortunately, game over.
Right.
Just one other, if there happened to be an entrepreneur that wanted to set up parking, say, in behind, the variety store, or, there's a bit of a municipal parking lot, you okay with that?
I'm
mean, that happens
happy
in
with
this-
that. It happened up in Clifford. People with private lots, they either let people park for free or charged it. It's great. All right, it's gonna cut into our revenue, but logistically, it's gonna be easier if we can divert people before they get there so that our lots don't fill up and then we've gotta direct them elsewhere. And the money's still staying in the community, so.
Like, we were thinking, like, the Legion, for instance.
Yeah, Legion, there's one lot that we're gonna be speaking with, would be the, is it the community church, on Young Street. That one, they've got a huge grassed area, and just mention it to them, if they want to, they want to, if not, that's fine too. But I don't have any issues with that.
I think you did a great job on this plan, and hopefully you get the 12,000 people. Is it 12,000 a night?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, so,
scary. Okay.
be busy, few nights for
Yeah,
all
I'm sure I'll be away.
people. All right,
Mayor Bridge, before Terry does that one,
oh, yeah.
we do owe you a report on security and site plan for the event. That'll be at your next meeting, I believe.
Okay.
And on this one, we just need a motion to receive that report.
Motion received. Councilor Turton, Deputy Mayor Fisk, all in favor? Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. We're gonna have one on the security. Have you had an opportunity to talk to, have you done the security one yet?
Al is talking with them.
Okay.
I haven't, I'm more worried
You're
about
parking.
traffic
Yep.
flows and parking.
Okay.
That's one of my prerogatives.
Yes.
Have you any knowledge of how ticket sales are going? Is everything, because we've been down this road before, but they
It
just-
is premature. According to the promoter, they are going extremely well at this time. What that means in terms of numbers, percentage sold at this time, I don't know how good that is or isn't.
Okay.
According to him, it's good, but
everything's a go.
I don't know.
Okay?
If I may, he said to plan for the higher number, not the lower number, so
Oh, that's
we're
good.
planning for 12.
That's a good sign.
Okay.
Okay, the next, I must apologize right to start. I messed up on the address of the property. It's indicated as 142, and it's actually 144 Milton Siler Crescent.
Well, I thought it was.
I know.
No idea.
'Cause being that you've read your previous council minutes, we've already allocated a sewage for that one. Anyways, this is a report for sewage allocation bylaw for 144 Milton Siler Crescent. This is an infill lot, so there is actually 2 reserved units set aside for this one. This is one of those lots where it could have been developed as a single or a semi. Initial plan was a semi, but someone, I guess, came in and wanted a big lot with a big house, so fortunately what that does, it frees up one of our reserved units. My part, I'm just proposing it to flip it to the unreserved units because there's no sense in holding it in limbo for nothing. So at the end of the day, this is going to leave us with 17 reserved units and 86 unreserved units if this one's approved. So 103 residential sewage units would be left over from this bylaw.
And hopefully someday this bylaw will be,
You know what, it'd be great because then I don't have to keep coming
Exactly.
back to you and just.
we're getting close, we're getting
Oh,
close.
That's gonna, we gotta be
It'd be
close.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. We won't go there right tonight.
So,
Okay.
so basically, just need a resolution of council to grant it for this lot.
Resolution. Councilor Turton, Councilor Faulkner, all in favor? Turn.
All right, the next one is a severance application. Severance number is B 27/13.
Peggy's coming up on this
Oh,
one.
thank
Peggy's
you.
coming up too.
Oh,
Helping you.
she can talk
It's
to you.
gonna help you.
Which meeting tomorrow? Engineers there at 9. Oh, I can do both. Okay.
Everybody be on
Subject property is located at 9575 O'Dwyer's Road. It's on the inside of one of the bends on O'Dwyer's Road. Proposing to sever off 1.19 acres for a residential building lot. Subject property is zoned agricultural, so there's no zoning issues there, and that's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay, so I met with the applicant, which is Mr. Bob Harris, who actually is in the audience tonight, and he advised me that there was some very mature trees on the property, and as you've been reading the report, basically he said that these trees around the perimeter are healthy trees, but some of the inner trees have been planted very close together, so he just was advising us on that. The senior county planner, Sarah Wilhelm, you'll notice in her comments that she's proposing that that there be a condition of severance for a tree saving and compensation plan prepared by a qualified professional as a condition of severance, just to ensure that there's a minimized loss in trees on the property. As you're aware, this is a new, as Terry said, it's a new residential lot. And so the parkland dedication of $500 per lot would be applicable to this application. Today we received comments from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, which are sitting on your desk. And basically, they did speak to one section that they spoke to is through cleared areas for future construction are located on the subject lands. These areas are located within the greenlands, and as such, the environmental impact study would normally be required. However, based on the review of potential building sites, future site alterations will be surrounded by existing development, and given the subject woodland appears to be a plantation with limited connectivity to the surrounding woodlands, the Conservation Authority recommends that a environmental impact study is not necessary for this particular application. So,
And can I ask you, that's different than the tree saving compensation plan that the county asked for?
Is it the same? Is that your
It's
answer?
not the same, right? No, that's not, okay.
I don't believe it is it?
No, different plan, okay.
So, if council is in favor, of this application, some conditions that you should consider, for the severance would be that prior to the certificate of consent being issued, all financial requirements are met to the satisfaction of the town, and that a safe driveway access for the severed parcel can be provided to the, road foreman, that prior to the issuance of the certificate of consent, that the applicant pay the cash, $500 cash in lieu for parkland, and that a tree saving compensation plan be prepared by a professional consultant to the satisfaction of the County of Wellington, and that farm data sheets are provided to demonstrate compliance with the minimum distance separation requirements, and that is for the property to the, I believe it's to the south. There is a farm on your diagram.
The bank barn and
To
down.
the south, yeah.
I'd say it's to the south.
Yep.
Yeah, 9576, I believe it is.
Yeah.
9675.
Sorry?
9675?
No, it's the one.
I think it's 9576,
Across from
across the road.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so, based on the planner's comments, I'm guessing that those data sheets were not submitted with the application, and so they would be required just to ensure there's no other, just to ensure that the minimum distance standards are met.
Yeah. Gotcha. Is that that's a working farm, is it? I don't know. You don't know.
I don't know
But no,
that.
won't matter.
You'll
You'll,
drive
it's
by
not
yourself,
probably,
so.
is it? No. Okay.
So any questions?
We dealt with this
Sorry.
property in the fall, I believe. Was there not a severance or of some sort that we dealt with in October?
It was a property further to the south, not owned by
Not
the
this
same
particular
applicant.
property.
No, it was in a different one.
And there is a comment then made about ownership, not having been owned for 5 years.
Yes, that is one, the official plan has a criteria, and that is one criteria that this applicant does not meet. He's only owned it since October of last year,
Okay.
and the official plan requires, the criteria is to own it for 5 years before coming to seven.
I'm just wondering, could the planner comment on that?
I think you'll notice that the comments from the planner, are not in support of the application for that reason.
And just further, if I may, it mentions here with respect to item G, which is the applicant hasn't owned the property for 5 years. In order to accommodate development of the new lot, a number of trees would have to be removed. So does that mean if he removes the trees, then it's okay?
No, the way we formulate our comments is, we always look at it as if it is, if the committee chooses to approve it, then what conditions should apply. So in this case, if land division decides to approve it, that we would then require that a tree's compensation
Right.
plan, be a condition of approval.
This has to go, yeah, this is going to land division, so we're just, whether we support it or not is what we're talking about tonight.
The policies in the official plan, the general policies under the consent section require, they speak to lots that are covered in compensation plans, the plan should be looked at the time of seven.
And what is the reasoning for the 5-year ownership then?
I honestly, I don't know, other than, one reason probably is to avoid, multiple sentences. But I wasn't part of the drafting of that, so I really can't answer that question. But it's a 5.
I have Ron, and then you.
I have two questions through you, Mayor Bridge. The new proposed severed lot, where would the driveway for that proposal be?
That would be up to the roads foreman to determine where safe access would be provided, whether it's to the north.
Cause that's
Woodwires
one
Road.
road and it just curves, makes a right-hand turn.
Yeah,
and then
it's a
another
sharp
road.
turn.
It is sharp turn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And-
to
and
the
the other-
north, there's a crest,
Mhm.
kind of to the east, it slopes down.
Okay.
I don't know the criteria for a safe driveway, so I can't comment on
And the other question is, maybe Linda, you could answer that, is the county used to have a tree inspector that would go in and mark the trees that could be removed and that type of thing. Do they still have that position?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
This is different.
that requirement is different.
Yeah, and I don't understand that requirement actually for a professional, the county person should be professional enough that he could do that.
Well, yes, but what that condition is doing is it's just ensuring that the property is not clear cutted. So until we know where a building envelope is going and the septic and an accessory structure, the plan will identify those buildings and those facilities. And then, another part of the compensation plan is to ensure that the trees that are being maintained aren't damaged in the construction process. So that's a little bit different than the inspector that goes in and says, you can cut this tree, this tree, this tree. It's a pre-plan to say, here's what we're removing, here's where we're putting our house, here's how we're gonna make sure that the trees that are being kept are going to be protected during the construction process.
Okay, I appreciate the explanation.
Any other questions? Oh,
Yeah,
sure, Dave.
thank you, Mayor Bridge, to Linda. How much merit does that 5-year hold? Like, is it something that, obviously you have, I think, what you're saying is that's the reason why you do not recommend the passing of this. And is that pretty common? That would hold up a lot of applications like this?
Yeah, we don't get really any. I can only think of a few that we've dealt with that didn't meet the 5-year criteria, and in those cases, usually they're very, very close to that 5-year mark, so then there's some leeway, but I can't think of any where it gets suggested. Because what happens a lot of times, people will be aware of the 5-year ownership, and they might apply for the severance before they own it as an agent, like as part of the purchase agreement, or that sort of thing. So we don't often see.
Sure. So if the town of Minto, if we supported it, that could mean nothing.
All it does is go to them.
That's right.
But I mean, in all fairness, at the land division meeting, the applicant will have an opportunity to address that. There may be some reasons that we are unaware of, and the land division committee might
Yeah,
accept them.
right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so what you're saying, Linda, in some cases, if somebody knows that they would want to sever it before they buy it, if somebody's owned it for 10 years, they would get the current owner to do it first. And therefore, then they would be sold on that basis. So I could see why you wouldn't get a lot of them if people knew or aware of it. Okay.
Mr. Mayor? Through you?
Yep.
Linda, you're saying that we just pass this on and, the land division, in most cases, the land division do look strongly on what the community wants and support. If the local municipality is in support of it, they try to find ways to support the local community, so.
They definitely take.
And if they're not in support, they often look at that way too. So it does give, we do carry some weight with them, even though they don't have to, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
So we kinda need your direction here as to how you want. You see the county planner has written it, if committee, that being the land division committee, chooses to approve it.
Then all those other things.
Right, so you could say the same thing, if committee chooses to approve it, these are the conditions the town would request. Or you could say,
Yeah.
the town supports this application and recommends that the county land division committee approve. Or you could have something that says you don't support it at all, I don't know, but we do need your direction.
Right. We need direction tonight.
Can I ask another question? So through you, Mayor, can I ask the applicant, like,
Yeah, well, I was gonna get there, yeah.
so I've been out around there, and it is an extremely tight corner. What is your thought on a driveway? And what's the?
Driveway to the north
So the driveway, you're talking the driveway to the north is the driveway that you enter your property now?
The house to the north
Yes,
now.
yep,
So the south driveway would be
just around the corner,
same area, no.
in that same area. And what's the speed limit there on that?
Pardon?
What's the speed limit on that road?
It is, I think it is 80.
It's
60, sorry, I was gonna say 60, it's pretty tight there, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not that there's a lot of traffic.
No.
Number one, and to address the tree issue, I'm a tree hugger myself, and the trees are 25-year trees, and 40 years old. So, like, 2/3 of them are done, or more. Like, we lost probably a dozen last weekend. So,
What kind are they?
pines.
Georgian
But
pine?
they were planted 40 years ago, 5 feet apart, and
Yeah,
they
they were-
just killed one another.
Well, they were
And
for
as
trees.
far as the 5-year business, I didn't know that there was such a thing. When I talked to Terry, Terry said, yeah, there's no problem. I think we'd be in favor of it. So I think the reason we could get around that is if we went to our lawyer and got him to draw something up that we would maintain and own the property for the next 5 years, then that should cover that. If not,
No, I don't think so.
well, it's in
No, it wouldn't
the
work that way.
person's name now. So he's taken severance to build a new house for himself. So he's still gonna own the property. So it's not changing hands. That seems to be the problem, right?
Are you saying,
If the boys approve the severance tonight, the planning committee is scared that he's gonna sell a lot next week, is that right?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
no, the policy says that there's a 5-year.
5-year, yeah. But, ma'am, if I'm correct, what you're saying is, you're not planning to build on this for the
Yes,
next?
he's gonna build on it.
Okay,
And I've been sitting here all night, and we're
Yeah.
all praising, everybody's gonna build the seniors, and we're all seniors, but we gotta look after the next generation too, they gotta live somewhere. So,
Your worship?
he bought the property like last summer, and there's ample room for a new house there. The house that's there it was a trailer that had add-ons onto it,
Right,
so,
it's not much of a,
yeah.
he's gonna continue to
But
have
mind you-
both.
No, yeah, well, he will sell
Right,
the one to move into the new one.
right.
I don't think it's a big deal, but
Just,
we seem to be making it.
Rick, you're next.
Just a question for my experts.
Yeah.
The only thing that's holding us up is the 5-year thing, that's it. I got no problem with moving ahead,
Well, that's
really,
like,
so,
what I'm
I don't know what
saying,
we're, I don't know.
if it stays in his name for 5 years, nothing's gonna change. It's gonna be the
I know it's the
same
rule we got, and I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if that's the only thing that's holding us up, there's no other issues. I honestly, your worship, I don't know what,
Are you making a motion?
yes, I would like to make.
Okay, make a
I have
motion
one
that
more
we,
comment.
that we send it
I have a
to
comment
land division
first.
with our,
I have a question
Yes.
first, though. And if it's not approved, what would he do? Tear the trailer down and build it there? I don't know, I'm just,
To me, where the trailer is the floodplain.
oh, okay. I don't know the property well
But
enough.
I'm gonna
Right
follow
beside it.
this to the county, and I'll explain
Yeah.
to them what I explained to
I think
you.
so.
That's
Should
fair.
be helpful,
I support it.
and I appreciate it.
Yeah, 95, 75, is that the trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, we have a motion, have a
I'll second.
seconder? Counselor Elliott? All,
Well, I just have a
Deputy Mayor
question. Does
first.
that, does that include the conditions then, or is it just?
Oh, yeah, no, I think we wanna do all the conditions based on,
Yeah, like I
Yes.
said, if the 5-year thing's the only thing that's holding up and everything else, somebody else can live with everything, let's move on.
we're basically at this point, what you're saying is you wanna send it to land division
With our support.
with
Without
your
the
support,
conditions.
as long as all those conditions are met, if they decide to waive the 5-year rule,
Yes,
right? That's what we're saying. Does
Yes.
everybody
we're
understand?
willing to waive that.
Is that, okay? Yeah,
Yeah, you're supporting the application with the
Right.
5 conditions, and they'll have to make their own decision based on the gentleman's arguments and.
on the 5-year thing, we can't,
That's
that's
their
their thing. Okay? Okay, all in favor? Okay, good.
Good,
Thank
Rick.
Good luck.
Thanks for hanging around.
Hope you learned something.
Been a little-
Experience.
Not any older.
his senior house. Okay. Next.
All right, the next is an irregular shaped, 1 acre parcel, off the property address is 6730, 12th line.
Yep.
It's, a portion of it's, agricultural, it slopes off back to Fells Creek, that's indicated on the sketch, which is natural environment. It is partially, former railway land and partially, obviously, just outside of it. It meets the 1 acre minimum lot area in the zoning bylaw. That's all I have.
So,
Yes, we have I think we have applicants here.
yes, the
Okay.
applicants are.
In case we, like, we see you out
Only
there.
2 left.
And you're learning lots too, right?
Maybe.
Okay, so, so again, the official plan allows for secondary agricultural designation to allow 1 new residential, lot, subject to criteria, and, so again, the parkland, $500 lot, parkland dedication would be applicable, because it is potentially a residential, lot. The applicant provided, to the county, the soil survey, which was conducted in 2005, stating that there was no, contaminants on the site, and Terry has, reviewed that. However, it is not a record of site condition, which is required under the official plan, because part of the severed, lot is a former railway, or was a former railway use. And, so a record of site condition, may be required prior to, building a permit. That's something that the planner has outlined in her comments. Also, the retained parcel, has a horse barn and, solid manure storage on it. So there, in your package is an MDS calculation, so that's based on the number of horses that the, retained parcel of property has and the estimated barn size. That sets out what the required setbacks are, the distance from the lot, and, so in this case, the building required setbacks are 265 feet, and what the actual setbacks are is 223. And for the permanent, solid manure storage requirements, the setbacks are 265 feet, but the actual setbacks are 190 feet. So the county, planner is suggesting that, either the removal of the horse barn or the rezoning to, prohibit, livestock be a condition of severance in order to address the minimum distance, separation. Number 1. The severed lot is not on the floodplain, however, it does back onto Bells Creek, as Kerry mentioned earlier. And, I did receive comments today from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, which are sitting on your desk tonight. And, the Eric Dowling, the, technician, I did speak to him on the phone, and he did conduct a site, visit, and then provided these comments. And, basically, the paragraph on page 2 that starts with, based on review of the potential building sites and historic alterations and disturbance in this area, the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority recommends that an environmental impact study is not necessary, provided a building envelope to the satisfaction of the Conservation Authority and the town of Minto is a condition of consent approval, which avoids the natural heritage features on the site. Or the committee could decide to instead, ask that the decision be deferred and that an environmental, impact study be completed. So they're willing to go either way on that, either it be to the satisfaction of the Conservation Authority and the town, or that they, with the building envelope, or to, ask for the impact, study, environmental impact study. So that's, basically, that part. So if the, council, would consider supporting this application, conditions that we're suggesting that you, consider would be that prior to the certificate of consent being issued, that all financial requirements are met to the satisfaction of the town, that any concerns of the Conservation Authority are addressed, so that would either be through the environmental impact study, or it would be through the building envelope and to the satisfaction of the Conservation Authority. That safe driveway access for the severed parcel can be provided to the satisfaction of the town. That prior to the certificate of consent, the applicant would pay the town of Minto the $500 cash in lieu of parkland, which is applicable for new residential lots. And that zoning compliance in respect to the MDS requirements and the natural environmental. So again, if that environmental impact study would require for the buffer to be addressed to the satisfaction of the town as well. And that the applicant would provide for the severed parcel the record of site condition, which would have to be prepared by somebody in that field because of the former CMA is part of that lot. So that's what we're suggesting if you are in fact in support of this application.
Questions? Sure there'll be some. Gary, you wanna go first?
Yeah, I have, through you, Mayor Bridge, I guess for the applicant, I have a question regarding the grading and site alterations. Just to what extent were they, and how did they change the property?
Well, we extracted 140 loads from the front of the railroad deck off of the Minto line from the addition on the house 13 years ago, which was approved back then. That was the alterations of the siding that was gentleman was talking about.
Okay. They were approved, you said, by Saugeen?
13 when we put the house.
Oh, because it mentions here that there was no record of review or approval of the grading and site alterations now. It says recent. Has there been something else done recently?
Well, I knocked the weeds down last fall.
Oh.
The weeds were in the broken branches. They were like disgusting.
But there was no, you didn't change the grade or?
Oh, no, it's been that way for extracted the soil.
And through you, Mayor Bridge, and what's the issue with the horse barn?
That was my question.
I'm not sure what they mean by that, if they,
Too close.
yeah, so we either give a minor variance to that, is that right, or they have to tear it down? Is that what your wish is?
No. On the official plan that our surveyor drew up for us, the piece that we added to make the 1 acre is one.
I got the cheater, we all got cheater glasses at this age. No problem, yeah.
They have across from the, very small. From this point to the L junction, he has 220 across to the south, which is from here to here.
Okay.
And 110 from here to here. I recently, since the snow has subsided, took the tape measure from the property bar at the front, and I would rather go the 110 across and the 220 deep, and it would meet all the criteria of the barnyard, the manure storage.
Well, I think if I look at it, .4 or .5 says that, whatever, says that the zoning compliance with respect to MDS requires a natural environment boundary and buffers addressed to the satisfaction of the town, so wherever they put the building, we'd have to be with that satisfaction rate.
Well, MDS is the requirement of the town.
Exactly, it's a 235, so I mean, can you get to the requirements? Are you saying you can? Okay, well, that's what you'd have to prove to the county, right?
But that's not this application.
You're changing the shape of the lot then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's where I got the issue.
Are you suggesting that you're gonna reconfigure your lot to meet the setback requirement from the line to the
Right,
is going to the barn.
right.
So if they wanna reconfigure that lot, so it meets it, that's one way to achieve it.
Just makes good sense.
And, rezoning is another way, but it's tricky in the sense that, you're not supposed to have any
Right.
livestock. So,
Okay,
and that would come back to the local law.
Right.
okay.
So I'm thinking you don't wanna go there, you wanna get this, you wanna keep the barn and keep the horses, I take it? Yeah.
Until they die.
Yeah, that's right, well, that's it, okay.
Somebody else I
Mayor,
know.
if I
Yep.
might just suggest to the
Yep.
applicant, if reconfiguring the lot is going to achieve what you want, then I would suggest you do that now. and
Yep.
Submit that to the
hear what
county
you're
so that new comments can be prepared in time for the land vision.
Right,
Right.
yeah. Because that's what I kinda thought about that, because I figured you wanted to keep the barn and the,
So, Mr. Mayor, would it be appropriate then that I make a motion to defer this request until it's brought back reconfigured?
no, because it's gonna go to the county, as long as it goes to the county on the reconfigure, or, I'm sorry.
Well, we
I
got
can add.
Yeah, okay, add to that,
You
yeah.
will notice as well in this one, the planner has suggested a deferral because there's
Okay.
a number of other issues
All
that
right.
need to be addressed before, this application
Right.
can move forward.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you.
Okay, well, you'd be better off, a better chance if you get those right before you go, in my mind.
And I'm not sure that the applicant, has the county comment, the applicant wouldn't have all.
No, wouldn't have this.
comments.
Okay,
Right, but the township receives, or the town, sorry, receives staff's comments ahead of time for
For
this
this,
opportunity.
yeah.
So the applicant isn't aware yet, probably what
Okay.
what the concerns are, but they will get all that in the package.
so, probably deferment makes sense.
That's right.
So
Yep.
if Mayor Bridge, if I'm hearing the wish of council, would be a motion to defer pending the applicant addressing the concerns expressed in the county report.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would agree with it.
We have
need
a
a
second,
mover
we
and
need
a
a mover and a second for that.
I move.
Counselor Faulkner? Deputy Mayor Fisk, all in favor? Yeah. So you'll talk to the applicant, can you really? I know, or whatever, Sarah. Yeah, right. Okay, so basically what it is what you talked about tonight, hopefully you can adjust that lot and then we can get going. In general concept, I don't have a problem. Okay.
Wish I would've known about the manure storage and horse farm.
Yeah.
Nobody gives us tea to that.
Yeah, that,
That regulation fact of distance, I could have easily changed the two.
Had that.
yeah, it's one of the things that we deal with a lot here, but you may not be aware of it because, and we haven't been going off that very often. Because it's very important. Like, I don't think we've made any decisions that we haven't either rectified, the barn goes away or something happens, so.
But the soil analysis.
I think I'm gonna go anyways, but you don't have to.
We did some other
Yeah,
analysis, the
mhm.
contaminants and the decon.
Yeah.
With, these types of sites, it's a record, it's an acknowledgement letter from the ministry.
Right.
So they can use that soil report and, provide that to the ministry to see if that's adequate. And it's just an acknowledgement letter that the soil is, clean or clear enough that a
They call
resident
it
can use.
contaminated non-hazardous, they call it, contaminated non-hazardous is what it's
Well,
called.
or to, you can clean enough to a point that a residential use
Can go on it, yeah.
Different levels of, and Terry can probably elaborate on this, but Terry would require it at building permits.
Yes.
If it wasn't being dealt with
At the county level.
consent stage.
I would-
Terry didn't see it.
There is date issues based on when the intent of the property was to be developed as residential versus when it physically is developed. The time that they got the report done, it wasn't an official requirement to submit a record of site conditions, so it's all about the intent to develop, not the physical development. We've came across that in a couple of situations before. So, yeah, in this case, my opinion is a record of site conditions not required based on the timing.
Okay.
So all it was a phase one then, Terry, basis all that.
So that's all they need.
Is there, Bill?
Just to add to that, though, the county can require it as a condition of the consent. And it's just because of new laws that happened since you cleaned it up, actually. Changes to the provincial rules, and now you have a planning application during the period where a record of site condition can be required. So the engineer that did that work would just have to expand upon it and give that to the, have that registered with the ministry.
But I would suggest you get with the county quickly and go over what you're gonna do with the barn issue. And let's. Mark?
Mark Van
Yeah, that was a good guess, Mark.
But also he did tell us the minimum feet, or maximum feet.
Right. Yeah, you got a chance to get that fixed, so.
And at the time, that's something that comes up through the application.
Right.
You wouldn't have known that at the time, because it's all based on the barn, the size of the barn, what type of animals it's are, there's a calculation you have to do.
But it looks in here, in the report, Jameson Picard came and did the actual report, right? So he would have done the measurements.
Yeah.
So Mark wouldn't
The application has a farm data sheet
Right.
filled out
Yep.
by the applicant.
Right.
And we put it through a process, it just gets out.
Right. Okay, so that's where it would have been picked up, not necessarily maybe when we were talking at first. Okay, voted? Yeah, we voted on it, did we not?
I have one question.
Yes.
The question is, how long will it take for to get this information back to
Yeah.
council so that we
We
can?
don't wanna hold them up.
If we can move with it a little quicker, or how long would it take for us to, can we expedite this in any way?
Well, we have to wait for the count, like, they have to talk to the county. We can have it back, if they're ready, we can have it back at our next council meeting, it's 2
Yeah,
weeks.
so we can get it off to planning.
I don't, 3 weeks, I guess, it's 3 weeks. Our next council meeting.
How long
But you-
how long will it take to expedite, or can you expedite it?
No.
You
Is it-
can't move this along a little quicker? You can't talk to these people and have their new plan in place?
When is your next meeting, 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
This is going to the
That's-
is there a difference on
Yeah, May 2nd.
May 2nd?
Yep, possible to do.
We could have that,
May,
we
what?
could have the new information and the information
Oh,
that you
May
need.
1st is a Wednesday, sir. Mm-hmm. Yep.
The horses that are housed in this horse shed. Far end of the 20 feet, the back end of the horse shed is for sawdust and hay storage.
That's
So
good.
There's 63 feet or 53 feet from the horse stalls to
Right. And if you move the manure to the other side,
the manure and give it to Paul Dwyer.
yeah.
And put it on the other side next year, the issues.
Mr. Mayor,
Just hang on, yeah.
the reason I suggested deferral is because I got the understanding you wanted to change the shape of the lot to confer with the,
Well, I could do that if I would have to, which would be call the surveyor back. All we have to do is change the 220 wide to 110 deep or 170 deep and would meet all criteria.
Is that important for us to have that information here, or can county adjust that?
Okay, hang on. Go ahead.
I think if the council is in general support of the severance as submitted, provided that these issues can be adequately addressed
Okay.
during the commission,
That'd be a way
you can certainly do it backward.
Yeah, and I,
You can say you support it, provided that, the EIS, the record of
Perfect.
citation, MDS is complied with, and
Right.
MDS, then we can deal with the applicant on how he wants to try and comply with that MDS.
and that's why I was asking on point 5, it says that zoning compliance with respect to the MDS requirements for the natural environment zone boundary buffer be addressed to the satisfaction of the town of Minto. Or, in our case, the county.
Right, if they're gonna
So,
reconfigure it.
if they're gonna reconfigure it or figure out how they're gonna get within it, that's all I'm worried about. Like,
That's
that
all
we
I'm-
get in within that. So if we wanna make that recommendation,
I just ask if, I can't recall if you took a vote on the motion.
we didn't yet.
Yes.
Did we?
To defer.
To defer?
To the county pending applicant addressing concerns in the County Wellington Land Division, moved by Ron Falter and seconded by Terry Fisk.
We had the motion on the floor, but
We didn't, then there was a question asked, we didn't actually vote on it.
Yeah, 'cause I voted against it.
Yes,
There was no,
there was a vote.
There was a vote, yeah.
Oh.
I voted against it.
Okay,
so
sorry.
I support
Okay, so we can.
Can't do that now.
Pull that out.
well, you have, you're in committee of the whole, so you have some leeway, so
We can do it in
you
council.
wanna withdraw that motion and make a subsequent motion to approve with the conditions?
That's what I was trying to get to, yeah. Okay.
You're in committee of
I'm
the
willing
whole.
to do that.
All right,
Make a motion to withdraw my motion.
Is that okay with the seconder?
who was the seconder?
Deputy Mayor Fisk.
That's fine, and then now,
There's still lots of issues here, though.
There are.
It's not just the
well, but it also has to go to land division. All we're saying is we support with these recommendations, that all these conditions are met.
Yeah.
All we're saying, that we support the overall concept of it, as long as land division, they still have to deal with, that they finish off all these. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I don't know if I.
Sorry to
should-
make it so difficult.
No, I think this is a good discussion because it helps you to understand moving
Yeah.
forward. But, part of the issue with this lot is that it's in a core greenland
Yep.
area.
sensitive area.
And the way the policies work is that when we're dealing with a lot that has the dual designation on it, under the Port Greenland designation, consent lots, creation of lots for residential purposes is not allowed.
Right.
So how that works then is because we rely on the conservation authority to establish exactly
Right.
where those hazards are. And they could come along and say, okay, we've evaluated the lot and the hazards are way over here and a house over here is fine, which is kind of what they're saying. As long-
Exactly.
As long as they can identify a buildable lot. We rely on the conservation authority to give us that direction. And then if they say that that's okay, then we will apply the underlying designation, in this case it's secondary A, and then that policy will kick in. And that criteria. So what's happening here is that because it's primarily Port Greenland, we cannot apply the secondary A policy to that. Because we don't know if the features, the environmental features are going to be impacted. And the Conservation Authority has said, do an EIS, or, they haven't made a solid requirement.
Commitment.
But what they have said is, you have to identify a buildable lot for us, at least.
Right.
So that's kind of saying, you have to make sure that there's a spot on this property that you can build a house that will not impact the features, the natural features.
And wouldn't that be on item 2, that any concerns of the Conservation Authority are addressed?
Correct, but you have to understand, because the land is currently mostly designated for
Right.
greenlands, we haven't been able to, we cannot look at it as a secondary lot until
Sure.
such time that that has been established.
Ah, okay.
But Mark didn't indicate that it was greenland. He said it was on the ground, it was on that brown zone, and we even saw the map, or we wouldn't even have gone forward. Because he said,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's in the brown zone where it's residential. There's no-
Well, I don't know what happened with Mark. I can't deal with that. I'm dealing with what we have in front of us.
Either it is or it isn't,
Yeah.
like I know.
If the council's gonna approve it tonight, and the county's gonna come back to us in, May 8th, we're gonna take a day off work, go down to that meeting, and you're gonna say, well, excuse me, Mark made a mistake, it was in the brown zone, now it's in the green zone, we're not gonna take it,
Yeah.
so wasted my time,
Okay.
wasted my money.
But I think we're getting away from what we're trying to do tonight, and in fairness.
I want our township's approval.
Except that I kind of have a problem a little bit with it, is because there's so many things here that might or may not happen. There's like you're talking about. I think you've got to have more, the time frame on this to us to try to get this back and forth. You may run into problems. You might go down there and get blown away at land division because there's just too many things out there. Yeah, I understand that. I can understand your frustration. Yeah. But you're better to defer it and get it all put, in my mind, maybe you're better to defer it until you actually solve some of the concerns, and then we definitely would support it, but, like, you're gonna run into, us supporting it doesn't give you much leeway if you get to the land division and they say no, 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 because of all these problems.
But see, the way I'm looking at it is, the information I have, I personally don't have any problem with what they're doing. And that's why I have these checks and balances with the county and with our building. And I rely on our experts. Like I said, I can support it tonight, and like I said, that's fine. You can move forward with it. Well, I'll give you my support, but now it's gonna go into the next, the next step, so.
She's turning it down as we sit here, there's no sense spending any more money, because the surveyor's gonna cost me another $800. I already spent bundles of money on the soil,
Analysis.
tea time, or septic.
Okay, Linda, one more, and then we, yep. Mhm.
Nobody's turning it down.
Yeah, so the planning
Unfortunately, we
committee
don't have
does
the
that.
benefit of the comments yet. You will be receiving all the comments in a package, and then you'll know where things sit, and there's more information that's needed before a decision can be made. That's what's happening right now. So once you get your package, then you'll see what you need to do, and I think it's, at this point, one thing is to talk to conservation authority to determine, where the natural features are on the property. So you don't necessarily have to be land division on the eighth. You can ask for them to defer it so that you can address all these concerns and then come back when you have that program.
I actually spent the 2 hours with the conservation.
Oh, well, okay.
And he had no problem with it. He said he don't need a environmental impact study, just for his comments and elevation. That's what he told me with his.
Well, sorry,
I-
Ron?
I'm thinking if we were to approve it in principle tonight, that you meet all the requirements necessary that we want to see met, you'll know on May 8th, by the time you get all your information, as Linda said, you'll know criteria you haven't met. You're going to have to look at that and say, am I strong enough now to go into planning and pursue this farther? Or do I need to reconfigure and come up with a proper plan? So on May 8th, if you decide after you get all the information, on May 8th, you can defer that. You can ask the county, before you even go down there, if you feel you're not strong enough, and in talking to county personnel and conservation to find out what you have to do, if you feel you're not strong enough at that time, you can ask the county to defer that, and they will. So you don't have to deal with it on that date. So we could pass this tonight and give you approval and that you meet the conditions and such like. But at that time, you've got to feel when you're strong enough, whether you're strong enough or not strong enough on the 8th, that we would put it back into your shoes. It costs you nothing for us to make a
Ron,
decision tonight.
we have Bill talk to this, because I think we have a problem here in the sense that, I don't want Bill to cover it off.
I think what the council has done, and I think in doing it, council heard the concerns of the planner and that there are issues that need to be addressed. You passed a motion to defer it. The question came from the floor, then can we expedite it? The answer is, we can reconsider it May 7th here with whatever new information there is. And the next morning, we can send that to the county. And if it's all in order, we can have whatever this council's recommendation is based on the new information to the county so that they can hear it on the 8th if it's all ready to go. That would be the way I think, given what you've done so far and what you've heard, it doesn't hurt to defer it, because in 3 weeks, the 7th, we're still before the county hearing. We can get our comments the first thing in the morning to them and bring whatever new information you can get. If you reconfigure the lot, if you get some more stuff from your engineer, whatever it is, you can do that on the 7th. That would be my suggestion based on what I've heard you do tonight and the things that have come out. It won't delay the applicants in any way. We'll just make sure we have it back on the agenda on the 7th.
And I think we'll have a clearer picture, and we'll be able to give us stronger support one way or the other on it.
Another question then, if on the 7th is the 8th, on the 7th, we would be sending it through that day.
Right.
Is that still enough time for them to defer the planning committee, or do they have to carry it through? How long have they got to to make the deference. So if on the 7th, they're not strong enough to report into the planning on the 8th, and they still have some reconfiguration to go, are we holding them up?
We're not.
Are we creating a problem for
No,
them?
we're not holding them up. No, I don't think so.
So they can defer it on the 8th?
Fine.
Oh, the 9th. So they would have time to defer it if they wanted to?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Same thing.
But I think we're, you know, like, you can see there's support around this, but there's some issues that we have to hopefully clarify a little bit more in order to feel strong.
Where do I get these exact numbers to? Is the county gonna send them a parcel?
Yes. Yep.
Unfortunately, you didn't have it before tonight.
Well, let's wait. Yeah, okay.
That's the way the process
Right.
is.
Yeah. Wheels adjust, it grind slowly.
Thanks.
Grind it down. Thank you.
Good night. Okay. Yeah, where's the front? We got
Earth Day.
Earth Day. Welcome.
Thank you.
Who's doing
Before
your
you, I
work?
have 2 reports. Yeah. I'm doing my own minutes in my head here,
Okay,
so.
all right.
These should be fairly straightforward. The first one is the Community Environmental Leadership Program, the CAL program, which is run out of Norwell District Secondary School. It's been going for quite a few years now. And every year they have an Earth Day cleanup in Harrison through Jill Welsh, the member of the Harrison Trail Association. They go along and clean up the Harrison trails. Every year, the Town of Minto Council also donates barbecue supplies, hot dogs, buns and condiments, etc.
We've even barbecued for them.
You've actually even
do.
barbecued
Yes,
before as
We're
well.
going to barbecue this year.
Oh, I see.
We have for a few years.
Yeah, yep. The CAL program is really a great program that we have in our community. They certainly support all of our environmental events in Minto. My recommendation is that council receives a report dated April 8th and approves the donation of barbecue supplies to the Community Environmental Leadership Program.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilor Turton, all in favor? All right, and try to get some of these guys barbecuing for
Think it
you.
over.
Right?
Yeah, I would also suggest that everyone, you know, it's on May 4th, it starts at 10 a.m. And that staff and council are certainly welcome to come out and volunteer their time to help out with that.
Help clean up.
What time start?
10 a.m. at the IOD.
Well, you'll get a
park.
notice.
And noon for barbecue.
Dave,
We'll give you
But I'll let you know about that.
nobody liked
They
your hot
didn't
dogs.
say that they needed someone to do that, so.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead, keep going.
Second report is agreements with funeral homes. July 1st of last year, there was amendments made to the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Services Act 2002. What this states is that we need to have agreements in place with our funeral homes for sale of burial costs and plots. It shows the 4 funeral homes, and my mistake, sorry, Hardy Funeral Home should state in Harriston, and Heritage Funeral Home Incorporated should say Drayton and Palmerston.
Yeah, that's all.
They have acted on our behalf before as representatives to be able to provide this service to families. It's not always, families aren't always able to come out to the office to deal with some of those issues, such as purchasing plots. So they do act on our behalf. Also attached is the agreement, just a draft plan, which would go forward to our legal counsel first before there would be any bylaw coming forward.
Any questions for Henry? That's a fault.
I just thought that the funeral homes were all interchangeable with the various cemeteries, so that there wouldn't be one designated to each one.
No, there isn't. It's,
They're interchangeable to do that with any.
the rules and regulations, though, if they get inspected, the rules and regulations state that they must have an agreement in place with the different cemeteries.
Oh,
We are the
okay,
owner of,
okay, that's fine.
to be able to do this on our behalf.
My only question is, I noticed you haven't got anybody, isn't there, Clifford Mildme does some of the funerals now? They bought out Garrett's. I know they're not
There
here.
could be, they
They
have not
have
approached us.
approached us, okay.
The bylaw that we would be bringing forward would allow us then to bring agreements in as they
As
come to
somebody
us.
approaches.
Because there will be other funeral homes, I'm sure, at another time,
All right.
come to us and ask for these agreements to be in place.
All right, good. Okay, motion to entertain. Sure. Counselor Faulkner, Counselor Hamley, all in favor? Carried. Okay.
Thank you.
Get back on the computer now.
Hurry up. Who's printing that while you were there?
We have the treasurer up here now. He's got it.
old boy.
So you got water in your backyard from, some infill lots?
Yes, I'd like to have some waterfront property. Anyway, no, I'm actually here to approve accounts, and it's a lower figure than normal.
Easier.
I'm hard pressed to say there's anything really unusual here. There's a new floor at the Clifford Arena, and some operating fees for the sewers, and payroll deductions, and some salt and sand, and fairly,
There wasn't as many meetings last month, maybe.
no, and we didn't give any money to the upper tiers or anything, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well, we shouldn't give any more. We gave them a big chunk last time.
yeah, we'll be back in
We have a
June.
motion to entertain the Counselor Hemley, Counselor Turton, all in favor? Carried. Okay.
Okay,
Budgeting
now,
class.
the next one, I remember was a challenge last year. So Bill's kind of done some suggestions too, but I think I'm just gonna kind of cut through it. And basically what we're saying is, when you set your budget, you have to be aware you're following kind of the old rules. You're not budgeting for amortization of tangible capital assets. We're still budgeting, I call it under the old rules, where when we have a capital asset, we finance it in that year. If we happen to borrow money, that money comes in. But it is a regulation that I have to bring this formally forward. There's also a couple of other things. Post-employment benefits, that's a relatively minor amount here. And landfill, again, we don't have landfill. That's at the county level in these things. But approximately 2.6, 2.7 is our amortization. I'm just working on the final calculations for 2012, which kind of gives you a basis of what 2013 will be. And you may remember that, okay, we didn't budget for 2.6 million in amortization, but we did budget for 6.1 million in capital expenditures. So it's not a perfect rule, but the rule we have kind of is, well, let's try and budget at least as much as amortization, and we're well above that for 2013. So,
Questions? Motion. Counselor Elliott, Counselor Hamley, all in favor? Carried.
okay, and another statutory one. I'm obliged to report on our development charge reserve funds and send this report to the ministry. So you can see at the beginning of the year, we had a total of $535,000. Now, the proportions here are not random. We have our development charges study, and the results of that allocate the percentages and the different functions that we're allowed to allocate our development charges to. So in 2012, which was a busy year for development in Minto, we collected $74,000, and we also earned about $10,000 because we take that as part of our reserves are invested in bonds and bond funds and money markets and that. We also allocated $326,000 to various projects, and namely the Harrison Fire Hall project, which we said we would finance over a period of years, some road work in 2012, and also some development in the industrial parks and that for expanding our water and sewer services. So basically, start with 535, brought in 74. We allocated out 326 and earned 10, and we end the year with 294,000.
Okay.
There.
Questions? Hoover, Counselor Faulkner, Counselor Turton, all in favor? Carried.
Great, thanks.
Good job, Roger.
And are you doing this one, Bill?
Sure.
Okay.
Mayor Bridge, this is a brief report from our fire chief. previously he reported to you that he was seeking a position on the executive of the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs. And he's been doing that for, I believe, a year now. He's been asked to run on, he was on the board, he would like to run for the executive, he's been asked to do so, so he's seeking your permission to sit on the executive committee for the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs, which is a really feather in his cap for sure, to be part of that group and to be moving up onto the executive already. Certainly we support that kind of participation in these provincial groups for our staff.
Great. I'll make a motion to that effect.
Deputy Mayor Fisk? Councillor Elliott, all in favor? I agree with you, Bill. I think council agrees that Chris has done an excellent job, and having that voice there really helps because he has the volunteer voice that other people don't have. And moving right up to the front here is Public Works Director. Right. He's ready for it. Okay, here we go. You're on. Oh, sorry. Chair. Well, I knew I was gonna mess that up.
Thank you.
Go
thank
ahead,
you.
Chair Turton.
Thank you,
please.
Mayor Bridge.
Why don't you just give me a little bit more of a, on that? Terry was laughing, I couldn't figure out what was going on.
It's okay, it's okay.
I need the rest
It's
anyway.
okay, it's okay. You're perfect, other than that. Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Tonight we have 3 items on our Public Works agenda, and I would like to welcome back our Director Hanson.
Thank you, Chair
And
Turton.
this-
Oh,
Go ahead, sir.
no, the first report was referred back from the last meeting to this meeting. I gotta apologize, I wasn't here to answer any questions in concern to it. Basically, I think Bill went through the whole issue and the report with you, and there was questions that some of you had that I'm here to answer, hopefully.
So everybody's read the report here. We've had it for a couple or 4 weeks. Any questions for our Director of Public Works? Hearing none, Councillor Faulkner, go ahead.
Just, my question is, are you satisfied with the work that
Discount.
designated people are doing?
Very much,
And-
very
and-
much so.
And they're doing the job correctly?
Correct. Yeah, I think the numbers prove that. I was asked to look at alternatives and maybe get some pricing and find out about these other products. It's pretty hard to compare apples to apples when they're not. Some do water mains only, some do both. Some, not each and every one of them use the same product, so it's hard to compare really to what there is. I have seen pictures and I got prices on some of the relining, and the ones the contract we're using now is like $65 cheaper. So I'm satisfied with what product he is using and the price on it.
What am I doing?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
He looked at me, he was sucking me in.
That's fine, that's fine. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fisk.
I guess it's not so much, I guess, my question isn't so much about this, but I do know that last year, Discount Drain did a fair bit of sidewalk work.
Yes.
And are we anticipating that again, or are they,
No,
are they the best priced people to be doing sidewalks for us?
Not really. Mike sort of run into a situation last year where he needed somebody, and everybody that he got a hold of, they couldn't do it, so he picked those guys up. So, no, it's going up for contract this year.
Okay, because there was a,
And I don't think it's a lot of money either. That's not their line of work.
no.
They did an excellent job, but that's not.
I think there was $60,000 or $70,000, I think, last year spent on sidewalks.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they did need them, but.
We needed
this-
the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm not questioning that, I'm just questioning if the people that are drain experts should be building sidewalks for us. I guess that's my question,
No,
basically.
they do concrete work around pools, and it was mentioned when they are doing the concrete work on some of the PECs that are replacing sidewalks. And they were doing a fine job, and that's why they got picked up that way.
Okay,
But this year it's being tendered out.
Other questions? So the recommendation tonight is that the council receive the report pertaining to the I&I issues in the town of Palmerston, dated April 2nd, 2013, from the Public Works Director, and extending the contract of Discount Drain to complete the I&I rehabilitation in Palmerston. Can I have a motion to accept? Councillor Faulkner, Mayor Bridge. All in favor of the motion? Against? I'm in favor of the motion.
Good man.
Second item on the agenda for the Public Works is the inspection of the bridges, so go ahead.
Actually, this is in two parts. It's our bridge needs study and our road needs study. Municipalities are required to inspect their own bridges according to the Ministry of Transportation inspection manual. Bridge and culvert inspections are due in 2013 to comply with provincial requirements. This is where the road needs study is not a provincial requirement, but sort of a rule of thumb to go by every 5 years. I think it was done in 2011 was the last one for bridge and culverts, I think. The intent is to ensure the road system is adequately maintained by identifying annual road projects of the highest priority, as well as areas where further study is needed to address road needs. I think the roads needs study was completed in 2008 by B.M. Ross. In addition to this, I've had my road foreman and road lead hand, they'll be taking a course called Municipal Pavement Condition Evaluation. It's a program which allows the town to do their own road needs study in the future. So if we get through this year on both, then they can do the road needs study from here on in.
Perfect.
And it was brought to my attention about liability, and it's not a liability issue to send them on a course and do their own road needs studies. So the recommendation I'm asking for, the council receives the report regarding biannual municipal bridge and culvert inspections, Ontario Bridge Management System Municipal Road Needs Study, and approves proceeding to request for proposals for
Questions? Deputy Murphy?
Through you, Chairman Turton, there was an email sent out in the last month or so regarding maybe a road tour within the municipality for the council.
Yes.
And was that date set, or is that still pending, or?
No, the date was set.
It is April the 25th?
25th.
Okay. I can't make that, but.
I got May 27th as one.
That's a county.
That's 27th, the county one.
What time is that one at?
8 a.m. until 12, the one on the 25th? That's what I've got. So we'll
CEO will have to get up a little early on that one.
we'll get further notice on that, right? Any other questions for, go ahead, CAO White.
I just wondered if the Public Works Director had another firm he wanted to add.
Yeah, I was just getting to that. There are 6 firms that were mentioned on here. I'd like to get another one out of Kitchener to add to it, so there'd be 7 total consulting engineers we can send out RFP.
Are you,
Are you gonna announce who the other one is, or?
Yeah, it's CIMA, C-I-M-A, out of Kitchener.
other questions? Can I have a motioner and a seconder then to, thank you, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Hembley, all in favor of that recommendation? Against? That's carried. Thank you, Mike McIsaac, our road foreman. Can we move along to our third item, the municipal street sweepers?
Mayor Bridge, Councilor. In previous years, the town of Minto has always maintained our own spring cleanup with our street sweepers. We have an operational budget of $15,000. In 2002, we purchased a 1990 sweep rate sweeper for $19,000, and in 2006, a 2002 sweeper for $49,000. The following breakdown further that, from 2006, when we purchased the second sweeper to the present date, the annual cost is actually $12,253. These costs do not include fuel or the man hours to run and maintain these two pieces of equipment. And you can also note that in 2006, mobile sweeping contractor, which was did the three towns for $11,000. The sweepers, they probably get used about 8 weeks out of the year. So the other 10 months of the year, they're just sitting there, and they take up a lot of valuable storage space. We purchased a street sweeper attachment for the front of the backhoe last year, which can be used for any of the minor sweeping throughout the year, and cleaning up any of the construction sites throughout the season. To purchase a new street sweeper, they run from about $300,000 to $350,000 for brand new, and there's $140,000 in the capital budget for next year, and that might get us a decent used sweeper. So even if the sweeper lasts us 10 years, the annual equipment cost for the town would be about $14,000 plus maintenance. With the current budget of $15,000, this would give the town 160 hours, machine hours, to accomplish the spring cleanup. And in 2006, Mobile invoiced us for 124, which is actually leaving us quite a few hours to do anything extra if we needed to, and still stay within budget. We are currently working on a fleet management plan, and hopefully have it to you for, I'm gonna say summer now, with the recent events that have taken place. The financial implications, the total contracted street sweeping in 2006 is $11,000, and with the existing of $15,000, we would still be within the operating budget. As such, eliminating the street sweepers, we'll have a cost savings for future capital budgets, as well as the elimination of the operating budgets for the two sweeper accounts. It is recommended any savings be directed to vehicle reserves so that funding is in place to implement a fleet management system. And the recommendation that the council receives this report regarding the street sweepers, and direct staff to place the two sweeper units on the list of surplus equipment for sale.
I might like to add on to that too is a street sweeper has a lot of moving parts on it, and you run into a lot of problems maintaining them all year after year after year on it. So, especially if they're used, that's why people get rid of them. So, and then you end up spending all your money on that.
Questions? Mayor Bridge?
To you, Dave. One thing I just want to comment on, and you mentioned your new attachment. We did get a nice comment from Palmerston, from Paul Brown, said that, I know your old sweepers really couldn't get that crud, that spring crud out of there, and they were really happy with what you did there, and it's also, we'll still have that. And I'm sort of in total agreement too, that the problem is the sweepers are an issue, the maintenance.
Councillor Faulkner?
Thank you, Councillor Turton. I don't think it's going to be any shock to anybody about my statement. I'm not usually for contracting out work that we can do with our staff. I know sweepers are a different issue. Before I am satisfied to approve your recommendation, you have a figure from 2006 for mobile sweeping. I want to know what the figure is for 2013.
The hours, the machine hours that I gave you for 160,
Yeah.
that's based on this year's prices. And
We've already,
But
went
that's
ahead
not
and
in
got
here.
No, I didn't put that in there, no.
It works out
But
to
it is,
80.
it's $89 an hour per unit.
89 per unit.
Yeah,
For 124 hours.
for 160 hours.
160 hours.
Yeah.
It's a 15,000, is it not?
Yeah.
That's the figure, right?
That's our
Yeah,
budget.
That's our budget,
Yeah.
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 So the $89 an hour gives us that 160 hours of machine time.
So back in 2006, it took them 126 hours to complete all three
All three
towns.
towns.
So we're saying it's within those hours, and we have at 15,000 at $89 an hour. That's how many hours we get out of the 15,000.
And stay well within our budget.
Yeah. How many more streets do we have since 2006?
There's a couple of subdivisions,
Yeah.
and
7.3.
7.3.
A couple dead ends. people
No,
don't wanna
okay,
go through.
okay. Thank you.
Counselor Hembley.
Yes, through you, Chairman Turton, to the gentleman here. With all the contracting out, obviously, you know, it's gonna be streets, grass cutting, garbage and all that. Where do we stand for employees? Are we up, are we down, or? I'm just saying, you know, if everything's getting contracted out, are we that busy now? Like, is there enough jobs to keep the boys busy? I'm looking as a taxpayer now.
Yes.
So,
I'm
and that's the
figuring-
question I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
Okay, you're contracting all these jobs out now, what are you doing with your workers?
Yeah, with the new regulations with, reflectivity for street signs, we have to do that twice a year. Last year, we did we have to do it once every 16 months, but we have to check our signs physically twice a year to make sure that they're there, like documentation. Last year, we only did it once, so behind the 8 ball already on that. Potholes, grading, all kinds of. Tree trimming, sidewalk maintenance.
Catch basins.
Exactly.
When we go on the road trip, when we take you on the tour, we'll show you exactly what we're up against. It's hard to sit here and I can tell you tons of different stuff that has to be done. Mike and I've been on, I'm gonna guess, a half a dozen road tours throughout the town of Minto, and it's there is a lot of work for our guys to do, and the upcoming 2015 the plowing match.
2016.
2016 the plowing match. 2015 we have the downtown street to do. We're gonna have to have the roads done around for that plowing match in 2015, so we're prepared. We are short. We're probably 2 guys short right now.
Okay.
I know we're 2 weeks behind schedule. That's the weather. You know, you gotta expect that. But the guys are working really, really, really hard trying to catch up and putting in lots of time. But
So if I came to you guys and said, hey, look at, between Toronto and Queen Street and Palmerston on Prospect Street, that street needs cleaned, all the other streets are fine. We've got the capability that we could at least do a street with the.
oh gosh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Right now, we've taken off in all 3 towns. We take, what's Clifford done?
The Main Street?
Yeah.
The Main Street hasn't been yet.
We've taken off all the heavy stuff, so when those guys come in with, if approved by council, it shouldn't take them that long to run through it.
Where are they out of? Where's Mobile,
They're out of London.
out of London?
And they do Wellington North. Like the Wellington North uses them as well every year for their
Okay.
spring cleanup.
Okay.
And they do other neighboring municipalities in the area.
I just wanna make sure you guys are busy enough, that's all.
Counselor Elliott.
Come on out. We can use an
Yeah.
extra hand.
You know, even though we've had our sweepers and such, like, one of the biggest concerns I get, and one of the biggest complaints I get, complaint is the word, is about the street sweeping. They always say, you know, when are we doing that? It's always in Harrison, it's always in Clifford, we never get in Palmerston, it's always in Palmerston, it's never in Clifford, and, you know, is this going to, do you think this will solve this problem? We'll be able to get this,
Within 2 days, Palmerston, Harrison.
Probably not at the same time.
so we won't have that, we have a break, we've often had a breakdown, and then it won't be 2
Where are you
weeks before.
starting first, I just wanna know.
And
Palmerston.
And this is kinda goes along with the cleaning of the streets and such, like, come the fall, our annual leaf problem. And no matter how many times we say we can take your leaves to such and such, and this is a Saturday, you're gonna have it out there and we're gonna watch it and whatever. I don't know, 50% of the people rake their lawn right into the gutter, and that's where it stays. And it'll stay there until next spring. We wreck our sweepers and we do everything else. Should we, as a community, start budgeting to remove those leaves or have a leaf pickup day, or should we be doing something like that? Because this is all on top of the sweepers. Are their sweepers capable of doing something like this or picking that up, or what happens? Because it's going to happen here, and we have bylaws that cover that. I know that, but nobody charges anyone, so.
And you also gotta look at, like, for an example, and I spoke to CO Clerk Bill White on this, was, we said we'd pick up the branches that fell. Like, if you
Yep.
guys wanna put them to the curb, we'll pick them up, but
Yep.
the situation you run into is people bringing branches they've had stored back there for 10 years out to the front, and then you end up getting those too. But, you know, you can only do so much because of the manpower you have.
I understand
We
that.
had all those streets swept, and then we had the ice storm, so that's
Right.
Mother Nature. It's
Right.
just like anything else.
I understand
You
that.
gotta be prepared for,
Where those go.
but the guys do their best out there. And,
How much is
I'm
it to
proud.
contract somebody in to suck your leaves up in a year? I know other communities do it. That's,
I'd have to check with Wellington North, cause they do it still. They get a contractor in to suck up the leaves.
like, it ruins our communities, and we take pride in our communities, and that's one of the worst things I see. When I walk around my community, I see leaves stuck in the gutter.
So maybe you guys can take that into consideration in the next few months. Mayor Bridge?
Just what's in your report, not only you have the 15,000, you're gonna have, it's 12,000 per sweeper in actual fixing costs or maintenance costs. So hopefully if we take some of that money, and maybe we can look at leaves or other things to do something with that money that we were spending anyways. That's all I'm asking. So you've got some room to play, and I think really wanna get sure that we do a proper job. And I think having them done in 2 days instead of having this week, and what happens is you get busy and the weather changes, you can't do it for 3 weeks, and that's what makes people upset. So I think you're on the right track.
Councillor Faulkner?
Just one last thing.
Thank you.
With contracting out, you don't always get it done when you want it done. Are they going to schedule this, or are they gonna do it when we call?
They're gonna work around our schedule, cause we wanna have the boulevards and all the sidewalks and everything swept out, so it's done in one shot. So they're gonna be coming in when we're ready for them.
Thank you.
see how efficient he is?
So Mike,
But you can't tell I'm still skeptical.
Yeah, I know.
when they do come, they come and they spend 160 hours straight. They work 24 hours a day until they get, so that's an issue, and I really think that we need to let our ratepayers know
When?
that we're gonna be at 3 o'clock in the morning sweeping streets, because that's an issue.
Yeah.
You'll hear it.
Yeah, and if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
When they're working in those early morning hours, they're gonna be basically working on the main streets.
Yep.
So it'll be like the people, the residents themselves should be affected minimally for that.
But we will make sure it's advertised.
It's advertised, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So the recommendation is that the council receive a report, PW 213-10 from the roads foreman regarding the street sweepers, and direct staff to place the two sweeper units on the list of surplus equipment for sale. Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Councillor Elliott, all in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll pass the chair back to you, Mayor Bridge.
Thanks, Councillor Turton. Okay, and I think we have 3 people disclosed that have other businesses, and we'll start with Ron Faulkner, because you're first. Huh?
Just, I want to bring up that a longtime employee of the town of Harrison and community, Mac Johnson, has passed away. And just from Mac did a wonderful job on our cemetery for years and years and years, and I just want to acknowledge his efforts, and I think we should appreciate the work that he's done in the past.
Ron Elliott.
Couple of things. First thing I want to do is thank our deputy mayor and our staff for what they did during the ice storm, the communication that I received. Tell you, it was great. We were on top of everything. The decisions you made were right on, spot on. Our community had to suffer a bit with lack of hydro and such like, but you made it easier for them, and I know our community centers were, in Palmerston for sure, were being used, and the people did appreciate it, and they did know when their hydro was coming back on. They had a pretty good idea of what, and it all comes back to the leadership that especially you two gentlemen had shown here, and unfortunately the mayor was out of town at the time, but I'm sure you were in communication with them too, and you were involved in that too. So I appreciate that kind of, I didn't feel at any time that I had to come forward to help, because it was all under control of what you guys were doing, and I do appreciate it, and I know our community does too. Secondly, you've all got the OSUM convention report. I just want to mention that it's going to be a fantastic convention this year. It's probably going to be one of the best, and we made history this year at the OSUM convention. We're lucky enough we're going to have all 4 leaders of the major parties going to be there, including the premier. So which is going to be quite a coup for us to have, and they're going to all be speaking at the OSUM conference. We've got several good programs happening, and unfortunately I drew the 8 o'clock in the morning one that I have to, session that I have to chair and operate. So, but if there's any way that some people could attend that OSUM conference, or you know of anyone that would be sure appreciated. And, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Harry?
Yes, just further to what Councillor Elliott mentioned there, I'd like to publicly thank the staff, especially Public Works and the office staff, for going above and beyond the call of duty. No questions if you needed to stay later or come back Saturday, they were there. And yes, I know they get overtime and all the rest of it, but I really appreciated it. Found out how inefficient or ineffective I am as the acting mayor. Really appreciated the poise and the cool-headedness of Coordinator Linda Dickinson, and our Fire Chief Chris Harrell. So really appreciated what they did. I'm also going to be involved in the meeting, I guess, on Thursday, and I have some points that I'd like to bring up. We found out where our strengths are. There are some weaknesses that I think we need to deal with, and you can practice these things, have practiced with disasters, but until you really have one, you don't realize what's involved and what maybe we haven't talked about and how we're going to handle it. So I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I think we gained a lot of knowledge and experience from it, and hopefully the next time it happens, the mayor's in town.
Yeah. I'll just add to that, I was in communication. Bill kept me up to date, and I was able to send some texts back. But this is where I really appreciate that the deputy mayor was here, and that's why we have that system, and you did a great job, Terry. And I know I talked to Linda today at County. I had a chance to talk to her at County, and she's coming up on Thursday. But she really had praises for all the group here, and you had your act together pretty good. So although there's always areas to improve, I think that we'll have that meeting on Thursday and kind of debrief, as she says, and she's used to that, and she's going to give us some ideas and bring your ideas forward that we're working there. So and hopefully we can do a little something for the staff. I know there's a possibility that we're going to, Annalene, did you talk to Brian?
I've actually addressed that, so
Yeah,
we're going to do
yeah,
something.
and I think they're going to do something, so we'll be soon getting out on that. So
Our
mention that.
our rec staff from Palmerston, when we were on, they opened up the rink and put on a bank of lights so all the kids could come and play ball hockey in the arena and stuff. So it was too cold and wet for them to be out and about, and the parents sure appreciate it when they don't have TV to watch. So.
Well, I even saw you was trying to work together and try to do generators to get the what is it called? It's not a stag anymore, it's called the Information Agriculture Awareness Night or something.
Yeah, that's correct.
And, but you got it done on Saturday, which is fine, and that was good. I mean, well, from what I saw from where I was, everything was being handled really well, so. Appreciate everybody's efforts in that as well.
Just have one other thing, this will be the last time I mention it. The Maitland Valley Conservation Banquet is Friday night.
And I'll be there alone, because Sue's still down in
Okay.
California, but.
I still have 4 tickets that
We'll
I'd
still
like
let
to
you
sell.
Yeah. Are we doing a group of people going down?
Well, it depends how many. If there's just the 5 of us, we could
Okay.
do that.
All right,
I don't
we'll
know if
figure that
anybody
out.
else is
All right.
interested.
Okay,
Interested, but I can't go.
Thank you.
all right, thanks. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, there is one little
Well,
thing.
you weren't
You
down
don't-
there.
you're
You already
up.
did yours.
I know.
Cut 'em off.
Just I wanted to say the firemen in Clifford are having a spaghetti supper on the 20th, 5 to 7.
Oh, yeah, 5 to 7, right, okay. Bring your own buns. This Friday, the 20th? That's Saturday, the 20th. Yeah, we're in the 19th, we're doing that. Okay, I'll talk to you about that. Okay, moving on. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Falconer, that the minutes of the April 12th, 2013 council meeting be adopted as presented.
Sorry.
That's the wrong one again. I've read that twice, Bill, 3 times, I
We're
think,
getting-
already now.
You're a little punchy.
Have we got that done?
I think it's done.
Okay, moved by Councilor Hemley, second by Councilor Elliott, that the Committee of the Whole convenes the Town of Minto Council. That's better. All in favor? One more mistake, I have to leave.
Time out.
I used to do that with my carpentry work, and I never got through anything. Any notices of motion? Heard none. Moved by Councilor, Deputy Mayor Fisk, and seconded by Councilor Hemley, that the Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Moved by Councilor Faulkner, seconded by Councilor Turton, that the bylaw number 2013-26 being the bylaw for the purpose of amending the bylaw 2013-05 be for the purpose of appointing the municipal council members and citizens of the Town of Minto be introduced and read in first and second, third time, and passed in open council seal of the corporation. All in favor? Opposed? Because somebody didn't put their hands up there.
I did do it. I was
Okay, all
behind the
right.
head
I
there.
was just a little late.
It was a backwards hit.
Bill's gonna give us another lecture on proper procedures?
Yeah, soon.
Well, if you'd like.
Oh, hang
Listen,
on.
I'm a little punchy here.
Mayor Bridge, before we move on to the fees and charges, I just wanted to let you know that pursuant to your direction, we did email most of the developers we know of involved with severances from time to time. We did have some feedback from 1 or 2 of them with some concerns about the fees, those being the 221 per meter frontage charge, and not so much the $500 parks levy, but I don't know if the 2 gentlemen who are here about that or not, but we weren't having a public meeting, we were just to hear comments. We had an email from the developer of Chickadance, planner on their behalf, saying they have concerns with the cost of development being increased, but they recognize that that did not apply to them because they're going through the draft plan of subdivision stage. Similarly, I think the Metzgers, we'll call it, had some concerns with adding to the cost, although in their case, they wouldn't apply specifically except in future severances. So in the case of the senior school development, we have to negotiate servicing agreements, and there would be a subdivision agreement there as well. So the infill lot is still in the bylaw. I don't know whether you want to hear anything more about that, but there is some concern, but not, I wouldn't call it widespread. We did specifically email probably 8 or 9 people, and we did get comments back from 2. So we're still prepared to go ahead with the motion. We don't have to have a public meeting, and I did need to report to you what we did receive.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councilor Elliott, the bylaw number 2013-27 being the bylaw to establish fees and charges for various services provided by the municipality be introduced and read in first, second, third time, and passed in open council seal with the corporation. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Yeah.
Moved by Councilor Faulkner, second by Councilor Hemley, the bylaw number 2013-28 being the bylaw to amend the Town of Minto zoning bylaw number 0186 for the subject property lot 1, 2, and 11 Tuffy McDonald Court of Harrison be introduced and read first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Yeah, moved by Councillor Turton, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fisk, that the bylaw number 2013-25 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 16, 2013 Committee of Council meeting be introduced and read first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Opposed, none? Carried. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Turton, the Council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor.
Yes.
You're all for that? Okay, I noticed that. There was really a good,
Hesitation.
good one there. Okay, excellent. Okay, give us something.